Good evening. We'll call to order the full City Council meeting for October 17th, 2023. The clerk will call roll for attendance.
Anderson Burgos. Bartley. Givner.
Here.
Jordan.
Here.
Maldonado Velez.
Here.
McGee.
Here.
McGivern.
Here.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Here.
Puello.
Here.
I. Rivera.
Here.
J. Rivera.
Here.
Tallman.
Here.
Bacon.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
In the city of Holyoke. Before we get started, Councilor Tallman's name was picked first, so for voting, he will be going first. I would like to have a motion to go to late file E, go out of order for late file E for a special guest.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? From myself, order that the city council present a proclamation to Jesus Pereira. Motion would be to
Motion to
take
receive.
up final action tonight and vote on it.
Suspend the rules to take a final action and to adopt.
All those in favor? All opposed? And now, I'd like to ask in our special guest, Jesus Pereira.
Good thing we passed it.
Come on. So as we all unfortunately know, Jesus was fooling around on the internet and applied for a job, and lo and behold, because you're so good at what you do, they are taking you from us. So he's going to Chicago, leaving us, but I want to make absolutely sure before you do take off to recognize you for the incredible service that you've provided, not only Holyoke veterans, but anytime I called you for friends and other family for other places, you jumped right on it. You are amazing at what you do. When I heard you were looking to leave, I think it was your first phone call, begging you not to, but I understand the dynamics to what you're walking into and where you're going, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck in what you do. I know you'll be great at it. But I wanted to recognize you tonight. I've known you since we've been...
Since I was skinny.
Yes, and I had hair, so a long time. But with that, on behalf of the full city council, everyone voted absolutely for you. To Jesus Pereira, recognizing you for the many years of dedicated service to the veterans of Holyoke, as well as to the veteran service as our service director, signed by myself to recognize you for everything. Thank you very much, and congratulations on your new role.
Thank you very much. See, now he wants me to speak, and this is usually the mayor's biggest nightmare is giving me our microphones, but he's not here tonight, so thank you for this recognition, and thank you, City Council, for all the years of support. I don't think we've ever really had much of a problem here. We've always been eye to eye on most things, and we had conversations about things we didn't agree about. And I ask that you continue to be collaborative with the next director and with the mayor, and let's keep helping our veterans in the city. Thank you.
Thanks for your service.
Jesus, best of luck.
With that, we go on to items laid on the table. Leave it there for now.
Number one all set to go, or?
President, we've heard, I've not heard back from the law department. There's a question of whether an MOA, MOU had to be, take place with the union, and a ruling on the procedure, or if there is a procedure allowing for a stipend. So I would suggest we just keep it on the table till we hear back from the law department. I'll check with them before our next meeting.
Okay. So on to public comment. In the chambers, first, there's two people who've signed up. Just as a reminder, it's a minute and a half. Around the minute time, I'll give you a wave. So when you come up, please make sure the microphone is on. Full name and address. First one up is Owen.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
My name is Owen Broaders of 1328 Northampton Street here in Holyoke. How have we forgotten against whom William Talbier had imposed a curfew? How have we forgotten who had imposed the Ward 1 lockdown? How have we forgotten how the presentation of ID was a requirement of exiting and entering that ward? Only the Puerto Rican Socialist Party dared stand against it. And IDs are still now required to cross the bridge into Chicopee today? For shame. A friend of mine was swept up in that oh-so ballyhooed sweep so many here have been celebrating. This is what his mother told me. He's okay and was released quickly after paying $45 bail. He told me about this because he said he'd seen sweeps and zero tolerance from the cops many times, but he said this was exponentially worse and terrifying, and the use of the shooting victim on the bus, an absolute tragedy, is being exploited, and it is scary. He had stopped in front of the daycare center for the homeless, where mutual aid comrades had left a bunch of shoes, socks, hygiene supplies, etc. He spoke with them briefly, walked about 200 yards, and was confronted. He had been walking home from buying cat food. He says the cops were demanding ID at the bridge at Chicopee and arresting anyone without ID, using the shooting on the bus last week as an excuse. He said the processing area was jam-packed
1 minute.
with homeless people and others who just did not have ID on them. Has Holyoke again now become a papers, please, apartheid police state? Have we come now full circle again with the blessing of liberals who once deplored police excesses? This is what engaging with and operating within the existing framework means. This is what it has always meant. And I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed of a lot of you. A lot of you. Shame.
We are
Have a
at our
good night.
time. Next is Lewis.
Louis Robinson, 1021 Northampton. Everything's on. Well, 55 years ago, I was...
Into the mic for
All
recording
right,
purposes.
55 years ago, people don't have trouble hearing my voice. 55 years ago, I was just entering the service as an Air Force physician. We had 500,000 troops in Vietnam, and I helped take care of them in Denver. And I had an easy war. I was assigned to Denver. We could climb the Rocky Mountains. It was not difficult. I actually had very little danger of being sent to Vietnam because the Army was so short of neurologists that even with 1 year of training, I was assigned to this excellent hospital, Fitzsimmons, and they only had people with full training. And so this last month, I met a man who was a forward observer in the infantry in Vietnam. And so I'm always a little queasy when someone says, thank you for your service, because it was really pretty easy. And that's why I'm here, to thank 3 people who are not going to be on the council in the coming year, Joe, Peter, and Todd, for their service. I've seen how hard people work in the council, and I think they should be thanked. I don't always agree with what they've done, but we all want the same thing for Holyoke, and
1 minute.
I just wish them the best. How many years? Peter, how many years?
25.
Joe?
44.
Todd?
18.
That's a lot of years, and thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Jeffrey is with us. He's online. Jeffrey, is there anyone online?
Yeah, first we have Libby Hernandez. 1 second. All right, Libby, you should be all set.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. I just want to, Libby Hernandez, 245 Walnut Street in Holyoke, Mass. And I want to tonight commend our brave city councilors Councilor Ward 1, Jenny Rivera, Israel Rivera, all the councilors that were with us, Tessa, Murphy Ramboletti, and all the councilors, I'm sorry if I'm forgetting anyone, organizers for the Stop the Violence walk that we did, and our escort, the Holyoke Police Department, Priscilla Rivera, community organizer, everyone that was there present with their children. We came as one person, even with all our differences, we collaborated and we were there. And I just want to say that we're getting a lot of pushback from agitators from the community and people that have different views, not coming to common grounds to unite in such a tragic moment that our city is experiencing, and turning this into, you know, talking about marginalized people and talking about that there's an abuse going on and that our intentions are not good.
1 minute.
This is bigger than any one of us. We have to rise above, come together, collaborate, and use all the resources that we have, all our city departments. So I just wanted to say that and say that this is not about me, not about no one in specific, but also Selena Santana, the woman that was hurt and the baby that was killed, okay? She is also a person that's marginalized of this community, and we're not thinking about her. So I just want to say, let's stay together
We are at our time.
let's rise above. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Jeffrey?
Yep, we have Spencer Fox Peterson.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Good evening. Spencer Fox Peterson, 51 Portland Street. Just calling in regards to all the things that are happening and the responses to it. So tragic life because of crime, and the root cause of crime is poverty. And I always kind of chuckle at the beginning of these meetings when you guys refer to God. You know, I presume you're talking about the Christian faith. I am a recovering Catholic. I no longer practice, 18 years indoctrinated, raised from birth, and I left the church. And the one thing I learned about Jesus was, you know, he wasn't a fan of tax collectors and, you know, guys with weapons that impose their will. And he hung out with all the undesirable people. And I just wonder, I don't see how the correlation to putting more agents of the state with guns, and their only solution is cages, to solve this problem that is root in poverty. So I just want to really focus on, this is one of the reasons I left the Catholic Church, because I didn't think they were practicing what they were preaching. And if we really want to follow in the path of God,
1 minute.
I really would expect you to act Christ-like. And putting more people with guns on the streets isn't the solution. We need to, from the ground up, address our ills in this society that is rooted in white supremacy. And as a white person, I know I've benefited from that, and I can't abide it because I don't think, you know, Jesus Christ would have either. And I'm no longer Catholic, so I would also ask you all to consider the consent of the governed.
We are at our time.
So please stop doing that. Thank you, and have a good evening.
God bless you.
Jeffrey, anyone else?
That is all of the hands that were raised.
All right. We do have, you missed the sign up, but you're here, so go ahead. Just to the microphone, full name and address.
Yeah, apologize for not signing up. I came a little late. Nathan Chung, 9 Prue Avenue, apartment 4A, Holyoke. I just hope that we as a community can come up with a common vision, a positive vision to create a healthy community where children grow up to be positive forces rather than killers. I know there's a lot of emphasis on reactionary solutions after people have been killed or people have been hurt. I think emphasizing those solutions is like pouring water on a gas fire without ever turning off the gas. Then we all have our part. It's not just one person or one department whose job is to create a safer community. It's the entire community. We each have little parts, big parts to play in the problems we're facing. So I hope we can really take some deeper look into ourselves and our community and figure out how to prevent these things from happening, how to make sure children grow up to be happy and healthy. You know, as an example, I think maybe they're dealing with it now, but it's been at least 2 years since there's been a rubble right next to Key Food Marketplace on the intersection of Main Street and Kaba Street. What do you think the impact of growing up in a community like that would be for children? And I see a lot of those rubbles throughout Holyoke. And I mean, I know it's not on you. You guys are not real estate investors, but how do you create a culture? How do you make sure the government operates efficiently so those problems are well addressed? It's all part of the solution. Or you can be also against the solution by how you act and how you treat other people. So I just hope we can come with a positive vision and transform the community for good together as a team. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's no one else in chamber, none online. We're on to communications. 2 is a letter from the mayor reappointing Daphne Board to the Holyoke Redevelopment Authority. It's a 5-year term that will expire November 1st, 2028.
Can I make a motion to confirm the reappointment?
Motion is to confirm the reappointment. For discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 3 is another letter from the mayor reappointing Tiffany Curtis to the Library Board of Directors. It is a 3-year term which expires February 2026.
Make a motion to confirm the
Motion is
reappointment?
To confirm the reappointment, under discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And then 4 is a letter appointing Rosanna Lopez to the Board of Appeals, which is filling the spot until the end of July 1, 2024.
Mr. President,
Councilor Tomlin.
I received a message from the appointing authority on the appeals board. Ms. Monahan left, and they only have 2 people on the board. And she suggested if we could appoint this person tonight instead of send it to committee. We just had her in here about a year ago. She was on the planning board. And I asked him if there was a problem, her being on the planning and the appeals board, and he said that he didn't appear there would be. So with only 2 members, they have to have at least 3 members to make any decisions on the appeal board. So if nobody has any objections, I would like to see if this could be, Ms. Rosanna Lopez could be appointed tonight.
All right, Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, I'd like to, Pete, I think we got to talk to the law department about people serving on multiple boards simultaneously. I'm not sure that's allowed. That was my understanding, but
Okay.
I could be wrong. Maybe you can do it, but I haven't researched it in quite a while, but I'm wondering if you can actually do that. But anyways, if they could look into it, I don't know, maybe they have already looked into it in advance of this meeting. I don't know, maybe, I know Mike listens in on the meeting, so maybe we could talk to him or what, but. Can we suspend the rules and ask Mr.
Motion is to suspend the rules to ask legal a question.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Mike?
Evening, everyone.
There you go. Yep.
I don't have a quick answer for you, Councilor Jordan. I'd have to take a look at that about multiple municipal committees, if I understand it correctly.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So, yeah, if you could look into that, Mike, and maybe for our next meeting, get back to us if that's possible.
Be happy to, certainly.
Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no problem with Ms. Rosanna Lopez. She was a very active member of the planning board, does a very good job with them. I have a problem, not just multiple boards, but the Board of Appeals is about hardships for variances and various things. And sometimes it overlaps with what the planning board is doing, and it's a conflict to be voting on a hardship of something you may have already voted against on the planning board.
Right.
So I think she'd be wonderful, but I don't see, of all the boards, I don't see, any individual being able to serve on both without finding some type of conflict.
So motion would be to
Table.
table?
Or
Table
send
it
it
in
public
here.
service,
I'll send it
either
to
or,
public service.
whatever your choice.
Yeah, I'll send it to public service and see if we can get some information back from the law department on this issue.
All right, so motion is referred to public service with a update from the law department.
So it's basically two questions. Can you do two different boards? And then Joe is correct. These two boards have a conflict, you know, as opposed to DPW Commission and Housing Authority or something, you know? Okay, thank you.
All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 5 is from the city solicitor, outside counsel on litigation.
Mr. President, I want to receive that and refer it, but I want to take my order up as well, because we can just get that out of the way, Todd. But let me look up the number. Okay, am I at the back of the agenda again? Yes. Let's see. Suspend the rules, motion to suspend the rules, take 5 and 40 up, please. Wait a minute. Yeah, this is, sorry about that, yeah, 5 and 40, thanks.
Motion to suspend the rules, take up 5 and 40. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I read you 5, 4, 40 is from Counselor Bartley. The City Law Department provided a mandated quarterly report for year-to-date legal expenses incurred by the City of Holyoke for outside counsel caused by resulting of the planning board vote for the log cabin. Receive and refer to Law Department.
Yeah, motion is to receive and then refer to the Finance Committee for a discussion.
So both to the Finance Committee.
And then, you know, we'll figure out with Joe when they can come in, okay?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so then to 6, which is the agreement between the City of Holyoke and the firefighters AFL-CIO.
We should suspend the rules, take items 6 and 7 as a package, refer to finance.
7 is settlement agreement between the city and the local 1693. So suspend the rules, take 6 and 7 as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Just a quick question to the Law Department. I'll follow up with our city solicitor, but is the money in the budget or is there a forthcoming appropriation?
I can answer that. So the mayor reached out. They're going to have a supplemental budget, which then would include this. The supplemental budget would have the financing for this.
Thank you.
So we're just waiting on that. So this to finance, 6 and 7 to finance with the supplemental to come
Mr. President?
at some point.
Yep. Just, I don't know if you want to tell the public what a supplemental budget is and how often we have them.
Supplemental budget is coming back in to readjust what we passed as our budget for the year. And it's the mayor making adjustments, of which adjustment would be is, for example, 6 and 7 to deal with the contract for the fire department and what we'd need to pay for those incentives, raises, and everything else. How many times we've done it? Well, depending on prior mayors, we've done it quite a few times over the last few cycles. Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, I think we did modify the ordinance too, just friendly reminder about redlinings of agreements, and then the other one is a financial impact analysis of any contractual changes too, so.
Yeah, you're supposed to get a full contract redlined and then,
a financial analysis. Yep, and so whenever it's taken up in finance, if we could just send that over to finance, please. Yeah, thank you.
Anyone further? So both to finance, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 8 is the September 20th, 2023 and October 3rd minutes.
Motion to receive.
Motion would be receive, adopt.
Second.
Are there any changes, discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 9 is the decision and order on plaintiff's motion for preliminary injunction.
Did we get this last meeting?
Counselor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to read into the record one of the sentences that was not completely read in at the last meeting. I won't read the whole thing. The last major sentence covered this. Economic loss is insufficient as irreparable harm, and there has been no showing of any other harm if the surcharge reduction question appears on the November 2024 ballot instead of November 2023, as agreed to by Defendant Garcia. Thank you. That was stipulated to the court.
Mr. President, my
Counselor
motion is to receive.
All right, so motion is to receive. All those in favor?
And just,
Aye.
but didn't we have this the last meeting
We
as a late file?
came as a late file, and this came in as a communication.
I think.
It's the same thing, right?
Well, I think what they're trying to do is because it came in as a late file and there was a discrepancy on not everything being read, they want it as a full communication.
Right, exactly.
Well, that was read by a person from the public, right?
Correct.
Yeah. But she didn't read the whole thing.
No, I don't understand that, Kevin,
Okay.
but I
That
just
was the
want
issue.
to, I realize she omitted a key sentence on purpose, but that's okay. So, all right, just
I wanted to
Thank you.
clarify the record. Thank you.
So that is received. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 10 is from Councilor Browder, a resolution in support of the
Yeah, Mr. President, another counselor filed this for a last meeting, so if we could, and I just told the petitioner I'd help him, so we just cleaned it up a little bit. If we just send it to committee, please, we'll just so everybody can review it, and we'll talk it out there. DGR, please.
So to DGNR is 10. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And then Western Mass proposal for veteran services.
Mr. President?
Councilor Tallman.
Could we bring this one up? Everybody, I believe, got this over the weekend online, or Western Mass Services, about combining some of the departments into our Veterans Office. And if I could take that up with item 19D.
19.
Second.
Motion to suspend rules, take up 11 and 19D. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So I gave 11. 19D is Committee on Public Service was referred in order that the Veteran Services Director be invited with regards to the collaboration with the surrounding communities. Recommend it's been complied with and that the Veteran Services District be approved. Councilor Tallman.
Yes, thank you. This was filed by yourself, Councilor Murphy, Romley-Letty, and myself on behalf of our Veterans Department, Jesus Pereira. We're looking at a couple of the smaller communities around here using our office and getting the funds from them. South Hadley, Granby, I believe Amherst, possibly East Hampton. I think there's already an agreement. There still has a lot of work to be done, but we had Jesus come in and explain everything to us. We would be picking up 2 more employees, but these communities will be putting money into our Veterans Department. And Jesus is here. Basically, it's a first step of accepting this, but there still has to be some discussion with the law department, with the other communities. And Jesus is here if he wouldn't mind coming up and explaining.
Motion to suspend?
Motion to suspend the rules to allow Jesus Pereira to speak. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Good evening again.
Good evening.
You never see me this happy.
Yeah, we don't want you leaving either, so you might have to sign off.
Yeah, so what we have seen over the years is an increase in capacity in our office. We were strategic in replacing one of our positions years ago from basically doing veteran service officer work and public assistance work with our Chapter 115 to doing VA benefits, a bona fide position in our office to provide those benefits. And as a consequence of that, we've seen our Chapter 115 outlays go down over the years. Other communities nearby have noticed that and have actually come to our office looking for services. And we did that for a little bit where we're, for the flag and for country and God, we're helping everyone that came to our office, but then realized that we're missing out on potential revenue for the city. So we sit down with currently South Hadley and Granby. We've spoken to their select boards to talk about districting in a formalized district in the area. They use an IMA as a mechanism to set the terms of the agreement, how to enter and exit the district, and so on and so forth. We are looking to do a separate IMA on the side with the city of East Hampton and possibly Amherst. Now we're currently in contract with East Hampton for $10,000 a month for our services. So what they're getting in turn for our services is 3 full-time FTEs, access to us Monday through Friday. They close on Friday. They're not available. Their veterans don't have access to us. So what we're looking here is how do we reduce the outlay of the city of Holyoke, but also increase services for veterans in the communities that surround us? And this is one way. The city of Holyoke currently pays somewhere about $215,000 just to have their 3 employees. And we're talking about salaries. We're talking about leave buyback and so on and so forth, all those lines that really make up what you're paying us to have us. And if we do get all communities on board, we'll be at about $130,000 to $140,000 a year outlay from the city, because the other communities are being assessed, and it's prorated by the size of their veteran population, how much it would cost to run this district. The current assessment that you're looking at inside this particular proposal includes all future projected raises to get this particular district established. And we're talking about significant pay raises for everyone from the top to the bottom. The goal is to have 5 FTEs. You're going to probably walk in with 3, you work your way up to 4 and 5. But this is just a cost-saving measure, and we have the capacity now.
Any questions? Oh, sorry. Councilor Rivera, I didn't see you. I'm sorry.
I just would like to point out that this sounds like it's an awesome idea. Sounds like we're sharing resources or working together to collaborate to achieve a larger goal. And it sucks that you're leaving, right? That's the one thing, right? And the other piece is that, like, if we could figure that same situation out with homelessness and substance abuse, we'd be good, right?
Sure.
Collaborations among different communities. And since we're housing a lot of the circumstances and situations, it's like we're working together to do this as a larger region. That's awesome, and thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Welcome. And as a side note, the reason why we're doing this is that every community is looking to win, right? Granby has one person who works 6 hours a week. If their veteran service officer is not there when someone calls, they have to wait another week before they see them. They'll have access to us, and they're willing to pay that slightly higher premium to have access to 4 or 5 FTEs Monday through Friday. We're looking to save dollars. I'm from Holyoke, I know this. Every time I talk about money, everyone smiles, right? Especially when we save it. But at the same time, I want to be clear with the council. I'm not trying to do this to increase the amount of work for my staff and decrease their pay. Not the goal. My goal is to pay them to do this.
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, I'm going to just recognize Jesus' work in the city of Holyoke for a long time. So he's leaving us, as we know. So I want to thank you personally for your good work. And then I don't know if anybody else wants to do that, but I did want to make a motion on this one too. So can I make them, want me to hold off on that?
Because Councilor Jordan was next.
I had just one quick question. Sure. The office will stay in Holyoke at the War Memorial, correct?
That is the current proposal.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Councilor Bartley for a motion, then back to Councilor Tallman and then Councilor McGivern.
Pete, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll just be brief. Jesus, can you explain about trying to get the 115 down and trying to get people on the veterans benefits? I know we get 75% from the state in Chapter 115, right?
Sure. So the easy version of this is when I walked into this position, we're almost at $400,000 a year that we're spending on Chapter 115, and that is public assistance for veterans. So this is reimbursement for Medicare or Part B premiums, their co-pays and things like that. We're paying them money for housing and oil. And what we found when we created the National Service Officers position, and we did that strategically, is that we can now get them on federal benefits. And if we get them on federal benefits, now they get access to VA health care and federal dollars. Those dollars are tax-free, and then we reduce their benefit from us in the city by the amount of dollars they receive from the federal government. And the majority of the time, the average is about $1,500, $1,600 a month that we're getting people from the federal government, which sort of negates their ability to apply for 115 in the city of Holyoke, but opens up their access to VA health care and federal programs.
Well said. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. Jesus, thank you, and to the committee, thank you. I did listen to most of the presentation the other evening when you were in session. This information is perfect. It even makes it more clear, something that I support as far as the allowing for a Western Mass district. It makes sense. As always, you're concise and clear and makes sense. I do believe, though, there is going to be another step to this, and I'm not sure if everybody's aware of it, but the money coming in, and not so much the 115 money, but the other money that the city of Holyoke is going to use to fund the positions and to fund your office is going to have to be accounted for through our system. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's a mechanism because there's many of these districts around the state. But I think to get this going, I think we quickly want to get the auditor, the mayor involved with the financial part of how to account for the monies that the city will be responsible for and using to pay for salaries.
Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on Councilor McGivern's excellent points, but first off, the meeting last week was tremendous. Pete always does a good job, and then I know I'll make a motion to receive and adopt the committee report, and then for this number 11, we did talk about that in committee as the next steps. As Councilor McGivern mentioned, this is a well-worn path by other parts of the Commonwealth, and so this will be a new, almost similar to our mutual aid, if anybody knows how that works, but collaboration between Amherst, Granby, East Hampton, South Hadley, and Holyoke. I think I have that right. And so when we speaking to the department in the meeting, we realized that, you know, we had a good discussion about the next steps, and I understand that the next steps would be to get this to the law department. So, okay, so, and, you know, before we get this to the financial people, as Councilor McGivern is quite right, we'll need to have that discussion, but we need to get some kind of a legal mechanism in place to effectuate this collaboration with the other communities. So I'm going to, A, make a motion to receive and adopt 19D, and B, make a separate motion to refer
11.
Number 11 to the law department and ask them to follow up with us in how long, Todd?
All right, so.
We'll follow up, we'll give them a time, give them 2 months? I mean, you tell them, how long do they need?
Well, this is something where the other communities are looking for your buy-in, right? We're going to be the host community. We're going to be providing IT service, HR services. They want to make sure that this council is on board with this idea. Numbers are going to shift. If one community pulls out, it's going to increase or decrease, you know, everyone else's assessment, but it's negligible. It's something that either way we're going to win. So they're looking for as soon as possible that we get this ball rolling.
So,
Well, just
how about, hold on, when we say 19D, motion is receive, adopt, that's complied with.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Now to the real one, 11.
That was
Motion.
real too.
Yeah, that was real.
Well, but
You were there, weren't we?
the next step. So 11 would be receive, refer to legal to start the process.
Yeah, and get some feedback and
do it by the next meeting?
well, then maybe the first or second meeting in December.
December, yeah.
What do you
Okay.
think?
So I'm going to press that there's some urgency in this, only because we have communities that are in other districts, and in order for them to leave that district to join us, they need to make decisions before the end of the year.
So it would be.
Point of order?
Yep.
Would it make, just through the chair to you, would it make sense to, because we don't have that before us, a affirmative vote of this thing? That's not, I don't think that's in front of us right now. I'm not sure it is. So would it make sense to have a late filed order, Todd, to say that we give our support to this initiative as a city council? Would that make sense, Mr.?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So maybe just file under Pete's name and,
Full council support, yeah.
yeah, we'll just take a late file on that. Does that make sense, Pete?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I'm sure with it for 19D, if we give support to that, because we said the district is
Well,
approved.
I don't want to overcomplicate it, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you said we need a affirmative vote,
Right,
so
right. It's okay with me.
however you want.
Well, if you want to do that, yeah.
You're the chair.
Can you do that, Todd?
I'm writing as
He's writing up,
fast as
okay.
I can.
That way we have it covered both ways, so.
You could be here all night.
I'm going
Yeah,
fast.
for public service, Joe. That's impossible.
No, what, the president writing.
Oh. Public
Okay,
service is an hour 11.
so 11 is to receive, refer to legal. Motion we.
Just a friendly, maybe a copy to the auditor so she can follow up with
Second.
DLS and whatever, just to see what other communities are doing budgetary wise.
As well as a copy to the auditor with regards to the tracking. Also to suspend the rules and go out of order to late file H.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Late file H from Councilor Tallman, full city council. Order that the city council approve the adoption of the Western Mass Veterans District proposal.
Second.
And motion be to take up final action for this. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So motion is to receive, adopt the late file H along with referring 11 over.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Those are done. All right.
Super.
We are on to petitions.
Mr. President, can we suspend and take 12, 13, 14 together as a package and ship them over to DGR, because that's where they belong?
All right.
No, second.
12 is a petition for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. 14 is a petition for nurse services. This would be to DGNR. All those in favor?
If we just do a copy of 13 to the law department to get a ruling on, is this a non-conforming use?
Okay, so 12 and 14 as a package over to DGNR. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 13 is non-conforming use for 15 Brookline Ave. So motion would be send it to legal, you said?
Copy to legal.
Copy to legal?
Send it to DGNR.
DGNR, but a copy to
legal.
legal.
Yeah.
All right, so to DGNR, copy to legal. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 15 is a petition of Ward 5 residents for a crosswalk on Kane Road.
Mr. President?
Yeah, Counselor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I was speaking with one of the residents in the area, and we all know that as a body, we approved a crosswalk there a long time ago. And then we had recently been informed that a bid had gone out for the raised crosswalks, but that bid failed, and for some reason or other. So the residents are very concerned that school has already begun, and still there's not even a painted crosswalk there, because there's a crossing guard there and the kids are running out in between cars, and it's very difficult to even have a delineated area to be safe for the children crossing. So the citizens were putting together a petition, and they were concerned about how many signatures they needed. So I let them know that it's been approved, and it's a matter of trying to get the money and the process through to at least paint the lines if we can't get the raised crosswalk. But this is really their cry out to the council and DPW to please do something. They're in a similar situation to the other school, and it's really a safety concern out there. So that's their plea to get this. I think it's the last one at the, well, there might be one other one out there too. So on their behalf, I'm just explaining it a little bit more. Thank you.
Anyone further? So motion be receive, refer to
Public safety.
Public Safety.
Second.
Copy to DPW and the engineer. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, President's report. One, make a motion to go out of order to late file C.
Aye.
Bring it up as part of the report. It's a communication. I think everyone already received it, but it's from Deb Burnell, which is the assessor. As we were told earlier, we were kind of on track for tax title setting and everything, but because of the new server with Patriot, things have gone a little chaotic over there. She's doing her best to try and get everything fixed along with the new server. So she's being proactive to let us know that they're working on it, and there now is where it was ahead of time, where it might be a delay or trying to still get there. So I want to thank her for reaching out to get it to us, but she definitely wanted to make sure we were on the same page.
Motion receive.
Motion is to
Second.
receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is Jeffrey Anderson Burgo still on. Jeffrey, who is still on, is not here, ran the marathon, 3 hours, 47 minutes, and 40 seconds, which is 11 minutes faster
Whoa.
than his last time. So he
Okay,
completed the
Jeffrey.
full marathon, and want to say congratulations to you. That's an outstanding achievement, but 11 minutes faster this time. Congratulations.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
Jeff. Good job, Jeff.
And Kevin Jordan's out in the hall. All right, with that, Counselor Tallman.
Yeah, Mr. President, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it today, but I did get over to Peck School for the demolition. I know it was starting to rain about 3 o'clock, and the mayor was up there in the bulldozer and took the part of the school down, and our state rep was there, Aaron Brunel, of course the mayor and the superintendent and the group from Mount Vernon. So demolition has started. Hopefully by the end of the year, it'll be demolished, and they're going to get out bids sometime in probably January or February, and it looks like everything's on track, everything's going good. I talked to Chris LeBlanc, and hopefully, as we spoke at the Finance Committee meeting, if we're under budget, they might be able to do that road up from Holyoke High School, which is something that we wanted to do. That was going to cost, $1 million, $2 million, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. And I did mention at the site there that we wanted to make sure that this one school would go through. And 2 schools, of course, was a little bit too much for our community, and having an override on that, but that we can keep within our budget. And we're just going to have to, as years go on, to follow up and make sure that that graph and that the statement of our debt ratio is kept in line. Because once that goes out, then what's going to happen? We don't want the taxpayers to have to end up pulling the freight for this. So it was a good. It lasted about 10-15 minutes, and it started. So hopefully we'll see progress as time goes on.
Nice. Anyone further? Councilor Bartley.
I just sort of share to Pete, Tom. Councilor, you recall in 2013 we had that big program to save the dingle. Remember we had the woman from Mount Holyoke that did all the work for us, and we. So could you just expand upon what's happening in the road? Is that pathway going to be affected? Is it going to turn to a road, or what's the?
There is possibility that could be affected because they're talking about the road down from the far end of the high school parking lot to going up, and the way they have to do it is they have to sort of like curve it around. But I think at the meeting we mentioned something about a big tree that was there down in the dingle that they were going to try to keep there. But it's trying to grade it. I'm sure as time goes on we'll find more, but they have to grade the road a certain way to get up there. And they were talking about having a walking path on the side because they wouldn't try to have the buses go up there. But, if students are trying to get up that road, there was going to have to be some kind of a path on the other side. So it's ongoing. I'm sure when we have a meeting Tuesday night, I can bring that up to find out if that's still in the works and how it would affect that whole area from the parking lot up into the school.
Anyone further? Councilor McGivern.
My sources tell me that after the meeting, Councilor Tomlin was given the keys to the bulldozer and he started the road already.
All right, so we're on to reports of
Mr.
committees.
President?
Oh, sorry.
Before we go on, I just want to get clarification because I have ordered late orders A through A, B, C, D, but I know we just took up an action on late file H, and I don't have any of those orders, either through email or in front of me.
No, they were filed as we got here, as things developed. Like Councilor, I filed a late file for Jesus Pereira.
That was okay. So how about late file F, G, if we're talking about H?
Yep.
So how are we taking?
Here, we have F and G, one from Councilor McGivern, one from myself.
Okay. Can we get a copy of them?
We can get it to you. I don't have a copy.
You just have to call Jeff out in Detroit.
Yeah. Well, you will get them. It's as it developed and they're filed for tonight. We just don't have someone here. Councilor McGivern.
I apologize because I think we all should get copies of the late files. I filed mine on behalf of a communication and a conversation with via the mayor's office about something that I just want to keep on the table for discussion. It's going to go into committee.
Okay. You want to take it up now, Joe? Since I'm already talking about it, can we just take it up? Well, Well, we got to take it up at some point. I'll make a motion to take up we'll take up Joe's late file order, whichever one it is about the going committee.
I'll second that.
Let's get it done.
Late file F motion is to suspend rules, go to late file F. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The city from Councilor McGivern and the city council adjust the sewer rate according to the updated operation cost and revenue projections along with the projected deficit for fiscal year 2024.
Motion to receive for the committee on ordinance.
Motion to send to the ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Finance, 17A. Committee on Finance was referred the mayor's letter of veto for the CPA ballot question. Recommended it be referred back to the full council to be received. Councilor McGivern.
Thanks, Mr. President. This was taken up with a few other orders, more just about connections and discussion. But as we all know, this has been on the table, the full city council, for since like last August, I think, or it's been a while. We're past the deadline of any, my understanding is we're past the deadline of any ballot question being placed on the ballot. So it's a moot point with the legal decision. It appears the veto stood. And I just suggest that the full city council officially receives this and puts it in the archives.
Anyone
Second.
further? Motion is to receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 17B, Committee on Finance, that the council or finance for the fiscal year 2024 state 911 department grant for $25,013.16, no match. Recommend that be adopted. So receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. We did have Sergeant Zurheide before us, and the purpose of this grant is for training of dispatchers to remain as a dispatcher certified. They have to go through 16 hours of education on an annual basis. This would cover their fees, cover some any expenses that are related to the training itself. After speaking with Sergeant Zurheide, the Finance Committee recommends that we adopt the acceptance of this grant. There's no match in putting it to good use.
See no one further. Motion is passed the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion to pass the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the grant.
Tomlin,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
I. Rivera,
Yes.
J. Rivera.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Your vote, you approve that. 17C, Committee on Finance for deferred. Hereby accept the fiscal year 2024 jail arrest grant for $45,000, no match. Motion be receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Mr. President, the Sergeant Zurheide was with us. This is a grant through the Department of Mental Health. The purpose of the grant is the vast majority of the $45,000 will be used for a 40-hour crisis intervention training. First in line are our new recruits that are now on many new police officers are on the street and active duty, and there's a few more coming out of the academy, and there's a few that need to take the course that have been there for a while. So after listening to Sergeant Zurheide, there's no match. We recommend that we accept the grant and allow it to be used.
See no one. Motion is passed first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion to pass the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for 17C.
Tomlin,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
I. Rivera,
Yes.
J. Rivera.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Your vote, you approve that. We're on to 17D. Committee on Finance who is referred and accept the fiscal year 24 EEA Preparedness Program Action Grant for $141,680 with a 25% in-kind match. Motion is receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Mr. President, Stephanie Cologne from the OPED office was before us. A big portion of this grant is going to be to put together a cookbook of the favorite recipes from across and around the city of Holyoke, cultural recipes that will capture, I think, a lot about what this great city is. Stephanie explained to us that the match is covered through employees, one of them being herself, but employees that will be working with the putting together of the cookbook itself. Then we did ask how many copies would be available, and it sounds like there'll be a significant amount of copies available for a small stipend. But we think it's a good grant. The match is covered through existing budget items, and we recommend the city allow it to be used.
See no one further. Motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion pass the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for 17D.
Tomlin,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
Yes.
McGivern, Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
I. Rivera,
Yes.
J. Rivera.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Your vote, you approve that one. 17E, The Committee on Finance was referred in order that the ballot question approved by the City Council for the November 4th, 2024, as referred to in the 9/26/23 decision by the judge, amending October 3rd to October 17th. Recommend that the order be adopted as amended. Councilor McGivern.
For the committee report, there's a split decision coming out of committee. It was a 3-2 vote in favor of placing this on the ballot in 2024. I think we've all are familiar with the language, familiar with the issue, and familiar with the votes that have taken place and what else has taken place over the last year itself. I asked, and I appreciate everybody allowing us to go into the committee to have a little bit further research and thought about, can this city council do something that is over a year away, and should the city council do something, is more my thoughts. But the committee talked to the law department, and we did have some frank discussion. We know historically that votes, once they take place, are final. Votes of something that is pending, that is introduced by an individual councilor that may no longer be on the council next year, are still part of the, in the hopper and still allowed to be voted upon. Not always. Sometimes we dispose of them and to restart. So I guess the indirect ruling from the law department was it's not an issue from any legal point of view. It's something that can be done if this council so chooses. The committee's vote is 3-2. And that's the committee report. My own personal feeling is, when I voted in favor of putting this exact question on the 2023 ballot, I thought it was a good idea. I would have voted to override the mayor's veto, because I don't believe we should wait for 2024 to put this ballot question on. I would, as an individual, I was clear I would vote against the ballot question as a voter, but at the same time, it's the correct thing to do, because I've had a number of residents ask me about having the opportunity to have such a ballot question, to have such a choice on CPA. Regardless, I just don't think we should rush to put this on 2024. I think the next city council will have a better idea of what projected revenues will be. When Megan McGrath was before us, she went into great detail about how the revenues coming in, both from the state and from the taxpayers themselves, are used. How the necessary staffing, the necessary revenues to keep the three categories that CPA funds, and quite frankly, I think there's been some great projects that have come out of CPA. My thoughts are just leave it for next year's council. I no doubt in 2024 we'll have a ballot question, but there may be some talk about the percentage, and maybe some talk about how to handle it, and that's my own personal thoughts. I'm not asking anyone else to agree with me, but maybe just listen. Thank you.
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I will preface my remarks by saying I think we're in a unique and different situation with this particular order at this particular time. And that is because part of the decision that the judge made relative to the ballot question, which is written tonight exactly as it was when we voted for it, was because it was stipulated to her in the court that this question would be on the ballot in 2024. So we are in a very unique situation here, where the judge understood who the city council was, understood what the vote of the city council is, and affirmed the statement by the mayor that he would support it in 2024. So I would just put forth to my colleagues that we are the body that needs to put it on 2024, because we are the body that voted to put it on in 2023. And I would further put forth the idea that the new council, if they have some other thoughts about it, depending how new and different the council may be, could bring those up at that time. But this particular matter was decided upon the vote of this council. And I really think it is up to this council to move it to the ballot in 2024. And I would further put forth that we are within the window of time before the next ballot because we are outside of the window of time of this ballot. So that debate is over, and now the only other opportunity is the 2024 ballot. I would also like to note that signers of the petition that was submitted and heard publicly relative to the CPA ballot being put forth to the voters to vote on, each received a personal letter from our mayor, in it which he said he has suggested that the CPA reduction question be on the ballot next year during the presidential election, and that he does support having the referendum next year. So I really think the time is now. He agreed to this, and all we really are doing is reaffirming the vote that we took earlier this year. Thank you.
Anyone further? Councilor Jordan.
Right. Unless, again, at the Finance Committee, I said, unless there's some legal prohibition, and I know maybe Attorney Bissonette wants to weigh in on that or otherwise, as to why we cannot vote on this. As far as I'm concerned, the representation to the court was basically in defense of the argument that we should wait was, well, it's no irreparable harm to wait another year. So, you know, what's the big deal? Let's have it on in 2024. That was essentially the defense, okay? That was sort of a cornerstone, and that's why the judge cited it. That was what was requested, and that argument prevailed, okay? So congratulations. Now it's time to fulfill what you said you were going to do, which is have the ballot question in 2024. And as far as, you know, well, let's let the next council vote and maybe they'll see another number somewhere and, you know, maybe, you know, we got to study city finances some more in January or February. And that to me all goes into the decision-making process of the voters. You know, people are going to make arguments for and against. And I have taken a neutral position on the question itself because I respect the arguments of both sides. I think CPA has done a lot of good. And on the other hand, there's a lot of people who feel it's just another tax, okay? And you should be doing what you should be doing with the money I'm already giving you. And you shouldn't need another tax to do those noble things, okay? There's arguments on both sides. And in the same breath that I voted to put it on the ballot with this exact same wording 5 or 6 years ago now, is the same argument I'm going to say now. Let the people vote. It's their government. It's their city. Who the hell are we to stand in the way of what the voters want to do? That was my argument when we put it on CPA. And now if they want to make a vote to reduce it, and by the way, it's not to eliminate it, but to reduce it back to what it started off with for an amount. Because as you know, home values have gone up considerably since 2016. And so the amount being collected today is significantly more than when it started. And there is some people in the city who have petitioned us and otherwise to have it set back to the amount that they were collecting when it started. Whether that prevails or not, I have no idea. If the public wants to vote yes, great. If the public wants to vote no, great. Whatever they want to do. But for us to now say, after we've been using that as the argument on the other side to not move forward, to say, no, it's not that we're against people voting. We just want it next year because we want to bring in more people with the presidential election and we want to get everybody at the table and allow everyone to vote. I mean, I've been listening to this argument. Of course, the obvious retort to that is, well, hold on, isn't this the same citizens that elected us at a city election? I mean, it's almost like this election in a couple of weeks isn't good enough. But putting that aside, you now get exactly what you asked for. And now it's, oh, I think we should study this some more. And next year, we should have the next council vote on it. So I'm really interested to see how this vote comes out, because you're basically being handed exactly what you asked for on a silver platter. So I'm really interested to see what the roll call sheet says in a couple minutes here. Thank you.
Next is Councilor Maldonado Velez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to preface this with that I am still on the vote for this to be on the 2024 election. However, there are some legal matters that are still in question that were brought up in the Finance Committee that were not answered. So I believe that it should be tabled until we get those actual answers. So that's just my thinking where I'm at with this. I don't think any of us here are against the question being in 2024, whether it's us, whether it's the next council that's going to put it on the ballot. For me, fine. At the end of the day, though, there are some legal questions that are still in the air that we have not gotten the answers to. And we want to make sure that we do this right because we want to do right by the voters, correct? So that's my stance. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. I promised myself I was only going to speak once on this, but oh well. Just remind everyone, when we originally took up the issue of the ballot question in finance, we had a very good discussion and all the arguments of why those of us that voted in favor of a ballot question came out. And a compromise came out of that committee, which is, to me, what is good government should be doing. And that's the percentages of how to reduce it and make it fair, because we could have been spinning the wheel all night as to what is the fair percentage. We based it on what we heard from Megan McGrath. We based it on what we knew through Treasurer's Department and what best updated reconciled revenue figures were, and then we based it on the money that's coming from the state and so forth. And Councilor Jordan makes a good point. Our property values have changed significantly the last couple of years. We're sitting here tonight with a letter from the chief assessor saying we're not going to know what our property values are to maybe sometime next month, December, before, and then hopefully we have enough time to vote on the final tax rate for this year to get it out for January, because we all know what happens if we don't. We don't get to bill for January, February, March, and we end up borrowing money because the city will go broke if the bills don't go out, and you can't do an estimate in the third quarter. So my thought isn't changing. I was in favor of putting this on the ballot in 2023, and I said why. I think people deserved a choice, and I thought the compromise was fair. 2023, on the numbers based on what we know. Now we know less than what we thought we knew when we took that vote, and I'm just suggesting there's no reason why this can't be delayed to look at whatever the numbers of next year are going to be. And that's why I can't vote for something. I was not part of the lawsuit. I didn't know there was a lawsuit going on until the decision was made. The defense was for Mayor Garcia, not for Joe McGivern or the city council. The plaintiffs were not the city council. Right? So I'm happy, the judge took a ruling, and I think the judge was fair, the best the judge could be. But judges don't tell us how to vote. I'm not voting for this. If I was on the council next year, I would vote in favor of some ballot question, but I don't think it's the best thing to do of making a decision this far in advance when we'll know more in about 6 months.
Councilor Rivera.
Thank you. For me, I'll reiterate, I believe that it should be on the ballot for 2024. And if I am here for 2024, I'll be voting in favor of it in 2024. For now, there are other matters at hand that need to be dealt with. There are a variety of other issues that are going on in the community. This notion of forcing it through right now and not trying to figure out reasons as to why this got denied in the court of law, right? Just to make sure, so that way when we do put it back on the ballot, I mean, as is, according to the meeting I was at last time, sounded like one of the counselors referenced, there are still some legal issues that need to be hashed out. So if for some odd reason it does pass and it gets put on the ballot in the way that it is now, and someone were to take it to court, then what's to say that it won't be stricken down from the court because things haven't changed? I don't know. So because of things like that, it's one of the reasons why I will continue to not vote for it now. And then another thing is that it didn't necessarily pass with flying colors, the vote. It was an 8-7 vote, one vote. That doesn't necessarily represent the voice of all the people in the community. It's off of pretty much one vote, which could almost be 50-50. But again, for me, I do believe that in 2024 it would be better. You get a better outlook. But then there's also a piece for me when it comes to equity and fairness is if you're speaking fairness, there's a decrease, there has to be an opportunity increase, but for some reason people are avoiding this conversation and don't think that that is equitable for some reason. Thank you.
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I want to note a couple of things. One, the language that is in front of us now is the exact language that was, I didn't know I was making a joke, but okay. Thank you. So the language that we have before us is the exact language that the body that existed at the time of adopting CPA voted. So what I would say to this body is if this language is illegal, then we don't have a CPA, because this is the exact language under which the CPA was voted into existence. Now, that question was asked at Finance, and I heard the chair answer that there was no legal reason why we could not vote this. When the mayor wrote to the people who had signed the petition, he made his argument that he wanted more people to be able to vote and that he would not block it. These are people who want the opportunity to vote. And I don't know who in the room thinks they're so important that they should decide that the people don't get to vote. This is, to me, a very clear matter of voters' rights. That is what I'm standing up for. That's what I will always stand up for. And I did put my money where my mouth is. Now, did we win the argument in the way that we wished to? No. But did we get affirmation for the voters' right to vote? Absolutely. And it is also affirmed by our mayor. So I'm very interested also to see what the vote will be. But to talk about legal jeopardy, if we weren't jeopardized for the last 5 years with the language we used, I wouldn't anticipate we would be jeopardized for the next year either. Thank you.
Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, Mr. President, in committee, the only legal question that I believe was allegedly open was this notion that the current council potentially could not vote to put something on next year's ballot. And that's an interesting and new argument, because the argument that was presented in court and what has been foisted heretofore is that if you would just have amended it to say 2024, then we were all good and it would have passed unanimously. Which, if you listen to this new argument that we heard, that technically wouldn't have been legal, because the current council would not have been able to amend it to say 2024. But let me just say, if that's an issue, we did ask, and I believe we asked at Finance if there was any legal opinion coming from over the last week, if the law department wants to weigh in that they feel that this council doesn't have the authority to vote on this because it's for next year's ballot question, then, let us know. But we had asked for that opinion, but I think I listened to the chairman, and I think the final determination was this council could vote to do it. Whether or not we will, we'll see in a minute, but that we have the authority to do it.
If that's the form of a question, Mr. President, that's my opening remarks was, that's what we heard.
That's right.
Right, and then I gave my reasons why I'm voting against it, because it would not have been unanimous for 2024, because I'm not in favor of 2024. I'm in favor of 2023 or wait.
No, but, okay, and I understood. I think you were very clear on your points, but the open, because one of our colleagues is suggesting I can't vote on this now because there's these open legal questions. So I want to put out on the table the quote unquote open legal questions. And to my knowledge, the open legal question is, does this council have the authority to put something on next year's ballot? So the question is, if that's an open legal question, then I've asked that be put out there and answered, please.
Well, so Mike has already been, the rules have been suspended to allow him to speak on questions. Is that a question for Mike?
Sure, yeah, it was. I know Mike was thinking about that at last week's finance, and if Mike has some other additional thoughts on it, please share, yes.
Mike, did you hear the question?
Mr. President, thank you. One thing that we learned from the opinion that was requested from KP Law, I have to say was somewhat surprising that in their opinion, and now in mine after a closer reading of the statute allowing an amendment, a reduction in the percentage, it appears now that for the reduction, the council would have to vote to endorse it, to approve it, and then, because it's in the conjunctive, and then send it to the voters for their endorsement and approval. And then and only then it would take effect. And I think the really new wrinkle is, does the council wish to take the step antecedent to putting it on the ballot, which is now required, which is to vote to endorse the reduction from 1.5 to 1. I know there was a lot of discussion in finance that several members who had spoken earlier and voted to put this on the ballot this year said that they really weren't interested in endorsing it. So I'm not sure how you want to proceed, but when one of the counselors spoke about a legal challenge, I think that may be what he was referring to, that issue of whether it's a two-step process to amend and reduce the percentage for the CPA. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
I also know that the judge did refer to that in her opinion.
No,
Point of order.
Yeah, back on my question, I believe I have the floor.
Yep.
Attorney Bissonnette, did you not make a question that it was, you had opened the question, please, if you can answer this piece, because I believe it's an open question, relative to some opinion about this current council not having the authority to vote on the question. Has that now been resolved?
Do not believe it's been resolved because of the need to vote first on the other issue. If you were to take both steps, vote to approve the reduction, vote to place it on the ballot for next year, as long as that vote took place prior to the close of your term, it would be effective for the next election, I believe.
Okay, so we're good on that piece of it. Now, as far as the follow-up to your question that you're raising, what's your opinion about then, if that's true, and this is a change from the law department, because as you know, and I do get very concerned when we're getting mixed messages from the law department, because the law department approved this language. The law department approved this exact same language to go on in 2016, and it says without taking a position, right? Where are we at in terms of this is the exact wording that the law department had approved to the council, and this is what happened in 2016 that the law department approved, because they're required to write the summary. So if that's true, then is the current CPA validly adopted? Because there was no two-step in the first one.
Different provisions of the statute to initially adopt requires a proceeding that also can include a petition process. With respect to the amendment to reduce the percentage, that is a different process under a different section of the CPA statute, and that process has to be followed in this instance when you seek to put it on the ballot. So to affirm an endorsement of the reduction is the first step. To place it on the ballot to ask voters to approve your endorsement and the reduction is the second step. You may take either of those or both, but they both have to be taken to effectuate a ballot question. And for this body, whose term expires the first Monday in January, then you would have to do it before that date for it to be effective.
Now, we didn't do the petition process 5 years ago. The council put it on the ballot 5 years ago. You're aware of that, right? And I believe you're also aware that you researched it and it went to the mayor, and I believe you got a copy of our vote that was approved by Mayor Morse. At that time, we did not take a position on the issue, that we said the wording exactly like this. So what I'm trying to understand from you is, what's different now? The reduction, I believe it says in the statute, follows the exact same process as it to remove it as it is to put it on. So we didn't use the petition process the first time. The council put it on, okay, on our own volition. And so we're doing that again here by this reduction. So the question is, how is it that the council this time has to take a position versus the first time that we didn't have to take a position? Can you help us with that?
Language of the two different sections of the statute indicate what is required. And particularly the language also in the section for modifying it or reducing it also has a section on revocation that has a little twist in it as well. And that's the 5-year twist, which doesn't apply to the reductions. So I would just say with regard to your reduction issue, the opinion you requested from KP Law lays it out fairly clearly that it's a conjunctive for the amendment reduction process, not so much involved for the initial acceptance of the CPA, which is what the council did.
I think we're going to have some more discussion if that's the position, and I'm going to need to have, I guess, again, we'll have to get into it. This is new information, and we're going to need this in the form of either having the person. By the way, let the record reflect, I called the attorney from KP Law, and I don't know if he was told not to return my phone calls, but he never returned my phone calls or my emails. So I tried to have this discussion with him. So anyways, I think we're going to have to discuss it because I'm still not seeing a difference between how it went on and how it would be reduced. But, you know, I'm happy to have that discussion further.
Point of inquiry, if I could.
Counselor?
This came up at the end of the Finance Committee. It was a very long night, and I actually semi-forgot about it. I asked, this KP Law opinion from an outside legal source? I never saw it. What?
Yeah,
it was sent to the council.
Yeah, it was sent.
I asked the administrative assistant. Now, he had his running shoes on, but he said he doesn't remember it coming in.
Two opinions came in. One was for the CPA and one was for
on the agenda?
Rules issues.
On the agenda?
It was, yeah, we received it as communication.
I'd love to have a copy because I still haven't seen it, and I'm not the only one.
We'll get it to you. Yeah, it did come in.
And for the record, I agree with Councilor Jordan, though, because I'm against the 1.5, 1.0 reduction, but I'm in favor of putting the question on the ballot for all the reasons I've stated. So we've never done it that way.
No.
All right, so Councilor Maldonado Velez was next.
Thank you, Mr. President. So just so that no one's twisting my words, none of us that I'm aware of are against the voters taking a vote on this particular matter. The ones that voted no last time were like, let's do it for 2024. Now an opinion was put forward by KP Law. Even our solicitor's office that are doing amazing work, amazing job, are telling us that we need to do this different, that there's actual other steps that need to be taken. The opinion hasn't been actually put out as a legal opinion. The discussion hasn't been finalized around that. Once we have that final say, then yes, then let's vote on it. For right now, just motion to table. Not even motion to say no, I'm against this. Motion to table for the simple fact that we need to get more information so that when the ballot comes forward, it's again actually, one, it's binding, it can actually be done, and the voters actually know that this is actual something that's going to happen, because we like to throw ballot questions everywhere, and none of them are binding. Sometimes they don't happen. So let's make sure, if this is what we want to do, that once the ballot question is put forward in front of the people, that whatever the results are, that's what actually ends up happening. And from what I'm seeing and from what I'm reading from other opinions, is that there are other steps that we have not taken as a body that need to be taken before this gets put in front of the voters. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Councilor Rivera is next.
So, first, I would like to thank Mr. Bissonnette for kind of elaborating on what it was I was actually speaking about with regard to the legal concerns. It's funny how we start with one thing and then all of a sudden we flip to something else, and then we follow suit on whatever it was that we flipped to. It's interesting to me that in the part, there's like a piece of the sentence that's been read into the record, and I'll read the whole paragraph pretty much. Even if it did, the plaintiff failed to follow the procedure for amending the surcharge as required in the CPA G.L.C.44B, whatever the sign is, 16 parentheses A parentheses period. Additionally, the court finds the plaintiffs have failed to establish irreparable harm with result from denial of injunction. Economic loss is insufficient as irreparable harm, and there has been no showing of any harm of the surcharge reduction. Question appears on the number that the question appears on the number over 2024 ballot instead of November 2023, as agreed by defendant Garcia. So the piece that was read into the record is true, right? But there is a larger piece that goes with the whole paragraph that kind of elaborates to the whole thing. So contextually, if we're going to put things forward, it's good for us to put the whole thing out for the community overall, so they can have a better foundation to understand the argument of where things are coming from, right? That's the first piece. I think the other piece is too is that I don't understand like how much funding has gone towards this argument at the end of the day when you really look at it, right? The KP Law opinion, that costs money, right? When it was, I don't think it was free. I think it cost us money. I think that's one of the things that one of our counselors, senior counselors, was very upset about, going to get these opinions without actually bringing it to the council and us spending money without the full council having to vote on it. So this is something that shouldn't, I mean, I'm new, so I don't believe this is a common practice, right? But it seems like, and it feels like some of these processes are okay when it's something that some of us want. And at the end of the day, I do believe that the voters have every right to vote on this topic or any topic. But ultimately, right now is not the time, in my opinion, and some other counselors too as well. In 2024, if I'm here, I will be voting for it. I will be voting in favor for it to be on the ballot so that the residents have the chance to actually voice their opinion on it. But again, I will be advocating to see if you can move it at both sides. The pendulum doesn't only swing one way, in my opinion. But thank you again, Mr. Bissonnette, for that elaboration and that explanation. Because sometimes a lot of things get said that kind of confuse and kind of like do a little bit of smoke and mirrors. So that way when people are making decisions and are trying to comprehend what's happening in city government, it makes it a little bit more difficult because things are cluttered with a lot of different noises that are coming in and out. So again, thank you, and I appreciate that.
Councilor Tallman for the first time.
Thank you. I thought you forgot about me. I see you got a couple of councilors that already spoke a few times, but want to get my 2 cents in here anyways. I was one of the 3 persons that voted for this to put this on the ballot next year, and it just made sense because the judge stated, let's put this on the November 24 ballot. I don't remember, I've been here a few years, and I don't remember not voting on something because the following year I might not be in office. You know, I'm definitely not going to be here next January, but there's several big decisions I've made, whether it's tax rate or other things that we vote on in November, December that I may not be here next year, and I'm still voting. You know, isn't that part of our right? And I did vote for this to put this on the ballot in 2016. I had my views about CPA, and my views might have been, I think it's a great thing. I was willing to spend the extra, $25 a quarter or whatever it was, $30 a quarter, and everybody's values went up. This was brought forward this year. You know, the values went way up. People are being pinched. Not everybody has a lot of money to work with. People struggle day to day to pay their bills, to put food on the table, to buy their medicine. So I said, why not put this on the ballot this year? I voted to put it on the ballot this year. And I would, as Councilor McGivern, I probably would have voted to override the mayor's veto also, and that never came forward. And this was a close vote, it was 7-6, but I think this is something that is important. I believe in the voters. I don't think there's any smoke and mirrors here. I don't think there's any cloudy decisions. We hear some stuff from the law department that sometimes can be confusing, you know, and sometimes we have to follow up with other outside law departments or outside legal help to try to get a decision made. But, you know, bottom line is, I think the electorate is pretty smart. I think we should let them decide whether you're for this or against this to go down, whether you're willing to pay more money or you're willing to say, keep it where it is. You know, I think it's important that we let the voters decide. I think that's one of the reasons I got involved in politics, was to represent people and to answer the people if they want something put on the ballot. I think we saw that, you know, how many people signed the petition to put it on the ballot. Why not give them the right to do that, no matter where they vote? So if this does get put off, I hope we can get a decision to square up this legal issue. If there has to be a two-step process, I'm hoping we can get this done maybe in November or December, early December. But I definitely want to be able to vote on this year. I don't know what's going to happen next year. Who's going to be sitting in this room? Maybe they won't want to do anything with the CPA. Maybe we'll now just leave it the way it is. But I think we should let the voters decide, and hopefully that if we get to the decision by the law department, get some more information from them, that we will be able to make a good decision. And this council, as we did vote to put it on, wanted to put it on November 23, that this council can vote it for November 24. Thank you.
Councilor Vacan for the third time, motion to suspend the rules now. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Councilor Vacan.
I'll be brief, and thank you for letting me speak a third time. So I just want to note that the entire decision was read into the record at our last meeting. I only read in the part that had not been read in, so that the record would be complete. The other point that I want to really focus on is that this city council took the vote and did everything legally under the advice of our law department. The language that we have before us tonight was provided to us by our law department. Now they are saying something different based on an outside legal opinion that they sought, not that the city council sought. Now, from time to time, various members say the legal opinions are advisory. We don't have to listen to them if we don't choose to. And at other times, we say, well, it's a legal opinion, so we have to do it. And I mean, I get it. That's politics, and we use whatever tools we have at our disposal to make our best argument. But I would still maintain that we are on legal footing. We have legal language before us that has been in existence, that the CPA has been operating under for 5 years, written exactly this way. Nobody challenged it because I don't believe there was a challenge to be had. So all I ask is that this committee reaffirms its vote in respect for the voters' petition to us, the promise of the mayor, and to reaffirm the vote that we as a body took. One vote matters. If a vote passes, it passes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It doesn't matter if it's one vote or two votes. Some huge elections have been won by one vote. So I really plead with my colleagues to approve this to go on the ballot next year for the voters. Thank you.
Motion to suspend the rules, allow Councilor Jordan to speak for a third time. All those in favor?
Thanks.
All opposed? Councilor Jordan.
Just a couple points that came up in the discussion. First thing is on these independent opinions. I wanted to create with the president a process for having independent opinions. The whole purpose was going to be that everybody could mutually agree on a person and have access to whoever the independent a person is. Because the whole goal has been to avoid lawsuits The whole goal has been to avoid these conflicts on separation of powers issues. Unfortunately, my request was completely rebuffed in the end. And this, whatever was paid to KP Law, that's between them and the law department. I had no say in that. I certainly didn't request KP Law to go in and do this on this or any other issue. That was all of the law department's choosing. Okay, let's just be crystal clear on that. I had asked for an independent process overseen by the president of the city council. That's point number one. Point number two is there was some discussion about and this was interesting argument. The law department wrote what you see here before you, just as they wrote it 5 years ago. They then went into court and argued that what they wrote didn't follow the process, that what this council passed didn't follow the rules after they are the ones that wrote it. I didn't write this. Councilor McGivern didn't write it. Councilor Tallman didn't write it. They wrote it. And then go in and argue that what they wrote didn't follow their own rules. That's a novel argument. It's interesting to me. This whole thing has been extremely eye-opening, but having said that, I do agree we want to get it right, but the bigger question is we need to have this, if this is who we're going to talk to, this person that nobody agreed to have involved, this gentleman from KP Law, who I've tried to reach out with to Noah's success, to have this either person come in and we can talk about this, because I would like an opinion now about the validity of the current CPA law. Because if what they're saying is true, it calls into question potentially the validity of the current law, because we're following the exact same word with the exact same language that goes to the ballot. And the other thing that's concerning is the council has resisted taking a position on these issues because it's about us not telling the voters or leading the voters one way or the other. It's about them making this decision. So is this really what the wording the first time? I'd just like to ask that question. I'm not saying that it is right or it isn't wrong, but I think we're going to have that. So if we're going to have that discussion, I hope we can have people in and we can get to the bottom of this and make sure. And we'll take it from there at that point then. But this is all new information. So we'll take it. Apparently, this needs to go back to finance then for this discussion.
So is this a motion to go
Motion to
back?
send it back, to send 17E to finance.
I will second.
Because we're going to need the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will second that motion with, I guess, to Councilor Jordan's question, or I think all of us, a legal opinion from Solicitor's Office around the validity of the original CPA. What are the questions? Like, what is the actual question that should be in front of us that we're supposed to vote on before we put in the ballot question? And then those are my two things that I want the opinions.
It looks like there's two steps now we have to do.
Exactly. Thank you.
So with that, to finance with legal answering those three questions. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And we are now to 17F. Community Finance was referred that $30,000 from various items to professional engineering service recommended be adopted. So receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Councilor McGivern.
Thanks, Mr. President. We had the superintendent of the Department of Public Works, Carl Rossi, before the committee. We asked the, as always, question, why is there a surplus in each of these line items, which we knew, but we wanted on record to be stated that there are vacancies in these positions with the DPW struggle to fill throughout the budget year itself. This money is proposed to use for professional engineering services. As we know, we lost our city engineer, and Carl is just looking to have the ability to out and to have some engineering services available to fill in as the city is trying to fill the vacancy for the position. The committee recommends that we allow the transfer.
Seeing none, motion is passed first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second.
Motion to pass the second reading. Clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Tomlin,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
McGivner,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
I. Rivera,
Yes.
J. Rivera.
Yes.
Unanimous.
We vote you approve that one. 17G, the amount of $250,000 from city stabilization to mayor's contracted services, refer back to the auditor. Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Finance had a very lengthy conversation, not just our last meeting, but for a few meetings now, about the issues of the Treasurer's Department and how to, what funds to support and what tools to support to get us out of it. As we know, for a fiscal year, a consultant has been used, Mooney firm, and a original $300,000 was spent. A second round has been proposed. There's been a lot of questions been raised by a number of city councilors, and a lot of discussion was had about this. Mayor Garcia was with us. Our treasurer was not with us. Not that we requested, but the vendor was not with us either. But I did put this on the agenda because we know the clock is ticking and there's a lot not happening in the Treasurer's Department at the moment. The committee report, as far as the order coming out, seemed to be a compromise agreement with the mayor in favor of it. The compromise agreement was that we understand we'd like to keep the consultant going, but we asked them to break it down into multiple votes, and I think it was a quarterly amount of $62,500 or so, which everyone seemed to say has a chance of keeping the efforts going of Sarah and the Munifin agency that she owns and operates. I checked yesterday and again today with the auditor. That request to put those 62,000, or at least one, in front of us this evening has not been forwarded through the auditor, and therefore it's not coming to us. I talked with the treasurer. He says the consultant is wrapping up what they did, and they're not willing to stay on for partial payment of 1 quarter at a time. There is, at my knowledge, I've exchanged messages with the mayor. I don't know what the plan is, but there is no plan in front of us as far as the treasurer's office goes. Little good news, there is one position's been filled in the office, but I don't believe it's the deputy treasurer, which is a highly qualified people, would certainly be helpful to get that position filled. So the committee report is that we returned this to sender because we've, after discussion, as I just outlined, we thought we had a compromise. I guess we don't have a compromise, but that's the committee report.
Councilor Bacon.
I'm all set. Thank you.
So motion is returned back to the auditor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 17H, Committee on Finance to refer the Law Department provide the City Council legal opinion related to documentation ensuring that the CPA Committee and the City of Holyoke are not violating anti-aid amendments. Recommend that it's been complied with. Councilor McGivern.
I think it speaks for itself. We've had a lot of discussions about CPA, and this was Councilor Jordane's original order. We just wanted to keep up with housekeeping as we talked about the ballot questions about CPA. We did receive a outlined informational package last meeting from Megan McGrath and from the full CPA committee itself, which I think keeps up with that and also keeps up with the legal opinion that came through the law department. Not the outside law department, but the law department. So the order's been complied with is what we're recommending.
All right, so it's complied with. All those in favor?
Just real quick.
Sorry, Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, I just wanted to compliment them on the nice job. They prepared a nice report that went through all of the different steps and what had to go on, what did. It was a nice report that they produced. So much appreciated.
All right, so this is complied with. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There was no public safety, public service, 19A. We only have one signature for 19A, or?
I got here late.
Thank you. 19A, Committee on Public Service, who was referred that the mayor letter appointing Kate Hopkinson to the Historic District effective immediately. This will expire July 1st, 2026. Recommend it be confirmed. Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, thank you. I make a motion to confirm the appointment by Mayor Garcia.
Motion is confirmed. Under discussion?
Yes, this Katie, we saw her online. She zoomed in. She's from Pearl Street. She's fairly new in the city. She lives over by the district, Fairfield Avenue Historical District, and for a little bit we thought that she was going on, but this is the full local historic district. She works for the Division of Banks. Got a pretty good job. I guess she's in auditing. Moved here recently, I think March or April, and wanted to get her involved. She saw the call from the mayor for individuals in our community to step up and volunteer for various boards, and she's looking forward to that. Everybody's got her resume, and very person that is really looking forward to staying in this community for a while and really helping out on the local historic district.
Anyone further? So motion is to confirm. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Mr. President, can we take 19B and C together?
Second.
Motion to suspend rules, take up B and C as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? B is Committee on Public Service referred that Michael Bissonette, Associate Solicitor, opinion regarding elected officials' appointment to Retirement Board, complied with. C is Public Service referred that the Law Department provide an opinion that has been pending for months or for the next Public Service meeting regarding the ethical concerns around the City Council President appointed by the Mayor to the Retirement Board. Please address the all concerns. Let's see here. That's complied with. Councilor Tallman.
Yes, we had a little bit of back and forth, very interesting evening here. Councilor Puello put this forward. He was looking for an opinion back in, I don't know, I think it was March, somewhere around there, and we got a letter from Attorney Bissonette, and no real legal opinion. We went back and forth, Councilor Puello and Attorney Bissonette went back and forth that night. A little bit of unwanted discourse. I wasn't too happy about the remarks on both sides, but it happens, I guess. I think we should all try to be a little bit more civil in how we treat our public officials and treat our people that work for the city. So I'll turn this over to, I think they were supposed to meet up. I don't know if they did. I'll turn this over to Councilor Puello to see if there's any updates with this issue and go from there.
Councilor Puello.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank you and thank my colleague, Councilor Bartley from Ward 3. I have tremendous respect for both of you. So I'm really not happy with the way that this issue's been handled. Like the chairman said, this was sitting in committee for months. Things were said at the meeting. Definitely, I think there's a real perception problem with this one. There was an opinion that was requested. We gave them 45 days to respond. They didn't. At the meeting, once we filed the order, they came back and, we went over a number of things, and they just flat out said at the end of it that they were instructed, the Attorney Bissonette was instructed by his supervisor not to provide an opinion. I mean, that's what he said on the mic. And, if I had done my research, I went back afterwards, first of all, but he said that we were going to follow up and meet up, and I'm not happy. I sent him an email. I didn't get a reply. So that's still out there. But what the charter says is Section 2, 162, on legal opinions, and there's another little paragraph chunk on it in the job description, in the duty description of the solicitor. And it says they shall provide a legal opinion when requested. And the only time that they can refuse to provide it is if it's not in writing. So my order was in writing. And, I wish I had known that at the meeting. I would have been a little bit more firm. But now that I know that and I read it and it's complied with, I'd ask the council to send this back because it's not complied with. And the perception problem still exists. My email it has no response. He said he was going to meet up with me. Well, he didn't. And that's what the charter says. It says they shall provide. You don't have the option to not provide a legal opinion. Like, that's not a thing. So the request was made in writing, and, I'd ask the council to send that back for them to provide something at the next meeting.
Councilor Bartley.
Yeah, and I have no problem sending it back. Just I want to follow up on what the chairman said. Yeah, sometimes there's unwanted discourse, but the part that the chair left out was everyone apologized on the microphone to each other. Okay? So, yeah, there are going to be some hard things said, Todd, and Mr. President, to everybody. I mean, it happens, but to a person, we apologized. To everybody, including to Attorney Bissonnette, and Attorney Bissonnette stepped up as well. So, I mean, let's not leave that hanging like unwanted discourses. I mean, of course there's going to be. I mean, you got to get over it, and then at the end of it, you got to shake hands and move on to the next meeting. So that's what happened that night. And that all happened within 1 hour, and Pete did a great job of keeping the meeting going. So I'll second that motion and send that back to committee.
Counselor Givner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. President. I did watch that public service meeting, and the one thing I thought was the legal opinion was that that the thing in question was how was it put? It was not a legal matter. It was like an ethics issue that should be taken up through the state. So that's what I got out of it. I understand that a legal opinion was expected, but it was my understanding that that was the legal opinion, that this was actually an ethics issue that goes through the ethics board in Boston. Thanks.
Counselor Puello.
Yeah, so I can clarify that. I was just trying to be brief, but I left a lot of it out. So this was initially requested months ago, and it was a letter from PARAC that's on the, I can send that to Counselor Givner, but it's not a legal opinion. It was a document from PARAC that was compiled from outside sources, and that's what was sent to committee months and months ago. And so out of that first initial meeting, it was agreed upon that we wanted an opinion because there was a lot of other concerns that were left out of that letter, Section 2 of the Charter, Section 14 of the Charter, Section 23 of the Charter, Mass General Law. So there's a lot of things that were brought up by counselors smarter than me, if that's any consolation. So it was agreed that we were going to get a legal opinion within 45 days, and then we didn't. So that's where that came from. But just to make sure, I want to clarify, they did say they were going to come back with a legal opinion. If you go back and watch that first meeting, he even said the reason they didn't provide a legal opinion is because that first request wasn't in writing. So the second one was. So, I just want to make sure that's clear that we did request a legal opinion, and we all voted for it that second time. I just want to, foot-stomp that. We all voted for it. We understood it said, please provide a legal opinion and send it over, and now they're saying they don't want to provide it. So if we could just send that back, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilor Mala-Velez.
Thank you, Mr. President. As someone that appreciates legal opinions, I definitely hear on when there's delays and whatnot, because that is, we're trying to make things happen, make things go quick for the people. But during that meeting, Attorney Bissonnette says, and it's happened a couple times, just because you don't agree with a certain legal opinion doesn't mean that a legal opinion may be wrong. However, as other counselors pointed out, and something I pointed out before, McGivern has pointed out, it's just a legal opinion. So if you feel like Mr. McGee not being on the retirement board, there's other avenues, other challenges that can be done that doesn't require a legal opinion. File an order to get McGee out. File an order with the state. I don't know, other avenues. It just doesn't make sense that we keep pushing this particular matter. With that said, I do agree, like, if legal opinions are being asked by the city council, they should be given to us. Thank you.
Anyone further? So motion is to send this to committee, back to committee. So 19B and C back to committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No. Go ahead, please.
No.
Motion is to show of hands to refer back to committee. Show of hands if you're referring it back to committee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it wouldn't go back to committee.
So now we do.
Motion is to table.
Second.
It is seconded. It is non-debate. Hold on. Motion is to table. It was seconded. It is non-debatable. All those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Chair's in doubt. Show of hands if you're voting to table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would not carry as well.
Motion is being forced to comply with.
Second.
Motion that's been complied with seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Mr. President.
Yep. What? Before we, sorry, Councilor Bacon.
So what I hear us doing here is voting to say a legal opinion that was requested by this body that was not provided is okay. So I just want everybody to remember this day when you want a legal opinion somebody else doesn't want. I mean, come on. If the charter says the city council requests a legal opinion, then the law department is obliged to provide it. Thank you.
Counselor Puello first, then Counselor Jordan.
Yeah, again, I mean, I'm having a tough time processing this. And I'm trying to be polite, I'm really trying to be respectful, but this is just something that's really kind of firing me up. So, just so everybody understands, we all voted the first time to send this over as a legal opinion. Every single person here voted to do that. The second time, everybody voted to do that. So now that we didn't get a legal opinion, we're just okay with saying, you know what, the law department can do whatever it wants. Oh, a paid position? No problem, you can do it. No problem, it's all good in the hood. Really? Like, we're all set with that? Like, I mean, come on, seriously, like, I used the C word at the committee meeting, and I'm gonna use it again, but this is straight up corruption. Like, you can't just say that you're not doing it. If it was somebody else, would the law department do exactly what they're doing now to protect the person? I mean, really? And we're all just gonna sit here and say we're okay with that? Everybody's happy with that? Like, no problem, no situation? Unbelievable. You guys can do, you know, do what you're happy doing. Appreciate it.
Counselor McGivern.
Straight up corruption? Straight up corruption? Why are we doing work through legal opinions and not doing our own work as individuals? Why do we have an outside legal opinion weigh in on the CPA question that none of us knew was going on? Why are we talking about a court decision that some of us didn't know was going on? I'm an elected official. I'm going to do my work, and I'm going to do it the best way I see fit, and I'm tired of people going after other people. Let's just do our work.
Counselor Jordan.
Again, I'm not wading into the issue or the people or any of that. I am a little concerned, though, because we also have an ordinance, and why I'm voting to allow, because I'm concerned about the precedent piece of it. We have an ordinance that says individual members. All this, I'm just sat back, sort of listening to this discussion. It's very interesting. However, I will say we have an ordinance that says if an individual member puts in writing and request of the law department to issue a legal opinion, they shall. We have an ordinance that says that. You don't even need the bot. You know, this is the thing I just want to add to the discussion here, just so you all understand your rights as city councilors. You don't need a vote of the city council to do that. You can go send an email that says, I request a legal opinion on X. And they're required to do that. Well, hold on a minute. Let me go and let me see if I can pull that up.
One at a time.
And let's see here. I'll have to dig it up on short notice. I didn't know the discussion was going that way, but I will just simply tell you that individual members can request a legal opinion. So there you have it. I'll just leave it at that. So can the law department just not do it if they don't want to do it? You know, I just want to preserve the right about individual members requesting legal opinions. That's the only thing I want to weigh into the conversation about. Should people do it? Should the topic be right? Is this one right? Is that one wrong? I'm not getting into all that because I have a lot of respect for everybody involved. But as far as the issue of seeking legal opinions, I do have concerns because that actually affects me now. If the law department can just say no on a question that I ask them as a legal question because they don't want to answer the question, are they allowed to do that? I don't know. I'd be interested in what other people's opinions are. Thank you.
Counselor Malin-Velez.
I must be really confused, but I believe we received on February 3rd, 2023, a legal opinion from Attorney Bissonnette stating that there was no issues with you being appointed to a retirement board, which goes back to my other point. Just because you disagree with a legal opinion doesn't make it right or wrong, whatever it may be. You have other tools at your disposal. You just used them 2 months ago to try to sue the mayor. There's other tools at your disposal. The legal opinion was put forward. I don't know if no one else got this. February 3rd, 2023, this year, there's an opinion from Attorney Bissonnette saying that it was okay for President McGee to be appointed to the retirement board. So I'm not sure where this whole thing of like we never got any legal opinion is coming from. Yeah, thank you.
Counselor McGivern.
Councilor Powell's order was referred to the Committee on Public Service to have a discussion about the question the order raised. A copy of it went to the Law Department. Attorney Bissonnette appeared before the Public Service Committee and discussed the order. Asked, said, done. Not everybody likes what Attorney Bissonnette said, but that's part of it. It's been done. That's why I voted it's complied with.
Counselor Puello for, I think it's second half. You're fine.
Yeah, so just to clarify, we never got an opinion. The letter you're reading is a letter from PARAC. That's not from the legal department. So the legal department, our City of Holyoke legal department, never sat down and reviewed all the points that were addressed to them at the first meeting, like they said they would. Like they said they would. At the first meeting, when they came forward with that letter from PARAC, we said, can you go back and look at this with all these issues 45 days later? It's not a legal opinion. It's not. And that's what Attorney Bissonnette said at the meeting, but it's not a legal opinion. And then when I pressed him on it, I said, that's not a legal opinion. Then the second thing he said was, well, we can provide it, but it's going to cost us money because it's a second opinion. I said, no, because it's the first initial legal opinion. It's a letter from PARAC. And then that's when he finally said, well, you know what? Our supervisor said we're not doing it. So that's really important for people to just go back and watch the meeting and really just pull up this letter. This isn't a legal opinion from the City of Holyoke's Law Department. They're refusing to provide one, and they're refusing to address the points that were raised. So this is a straight up refusal. Everybody can sit here and say, all the great things, and that's great, but the fundamental issue is that a legal opinion was requested. I don't know if they might not like the answer that's going to come back, but they are refusing to provide one. And the document that we have is not a legal opinion from the city. It's a letter from PARAC. Thank you.
Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, I'm just amazed by the discussion, especially when we hear counselors prior saying, a legal opinion, it's a legal opinion if it's signed off by the solicitor. The same counselor who said that, screaming and yelling in prior meetings, screaming and yelling in this meeting, it's not signed off by the city solicitor, and he knows that. But when it comes to his own choosing, well, he pulls out that card. When it's against his choosing, he conveniently forgets it. So that is pretty low order in my book. Why can't, if a counselor wants to have a legal opinion and further discussion on his counselor's own order, and he wants to send it back to committee, where's the case or controversy? I mean, where's the respect for another counselor who wants to have this done? You want to call order, Mr. President, or is this a round table by crybabies all day?
Order, stop.
I didn't even say that, crybaby.
Hey. Counselor Bartley has the floor.
So,
Counselor Bartley has the floor.
No, I was going to hold back on this, but I'm just amazed by it. Amazed by how we pick and choose which way we want to do this. The simple thing is a counselor filed the order. Let's send it back to committee because it's a counselor's own order and figure it out. Thank you.
Counselor Velez. Maldonado Velez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to clarify, there's one counselor that has spent the last 2 years yelling. The one that just complained about the yelling. I just want to make that quick clarification because that is clearly how they speak for some reason. With that said, the letter that I have in front of me, it's on the City of Holyoke letterhead, signed by Attorney Bissonnette. Yes, there is mention of PARAC within the letter. There's other mentions in there. But this is what legal opinions have looked like in the last 2 years that I've been here. So I'm not sure, is there something else that it's supposed to look like? He may be just the assistant city solicitor, but he can still sign it. So just to make a point and just to clarify, we did receive a legal opinion. Certain counselors did not like what that legal opinion said, and now we're making something a bigger issue than that. With that said, again, there are other avenues, if you really don't believe that certain people should not be in certain seats, then go through those other avenues. But we're wasting the city solicitor's time to continue this conversation on legal opinions that we did receive. If not, then that means every legal opinion that we've received in the last 2 years, that gets called into question. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
I have always said a legal opinion needs to be signed by the city solicitor. When's the last one you've seen signed by the city solicitor? Tonight we had a discussion about an outside counsel, quote unquote, legal opinion that weighed into a discussion we had this evening. I'm not backing off on that statement, and I don't mind saying that. I don't mind if my name is said when I say something like that, because I do. What I just said was the committee talked, an order was referred to committee, not adopted and referred to the law department. Was referred to committee with a copy to the law department. The law department appeared before the committee, gave their legal, and I'm going to say advice, not opinion, to the committee. Someone asked for it in writing. That has not taken place. That's the only issue here, is it wasn't put in writing. The discussion took place. It's been complied with.
Councilor Puello for the third time, motion to suspend the rules. All those in favor? All opposed? Councilor Puello.
Yeah, so just last thing I'm going to say on this, and then I'm done. Because it's important for people to realize what's happening. That is not a legal opinion. It was not a legal opinion, and Attorney Bissonnette is on the record, on the video, is saying that it's not a legal opinion. And the reason that they didn't provide one was because we didn't request one in writing. So this is all on the record. Like, this is on tape. And people can say whatever they want now, but if you go back and watch the first video, you watch the second video, you'll see what happened. Okay, I mean, they sat on the entire thing for months. It's 2 months before the end of the term of the council. It's so clear what happened. So all people need to do is just go back, watch the first tape. The attorney's on record as saying, well, we didn't provide it because you didn't ask for one, so we just gave you the letter. And then at the next meeting, after we gave him the 45 days, you know, people can go back and watch the tape. People can go back and watch the tape, but it's pretty clear what happened here and what other people are perpetuating. Thank you.
All right. I believe we already voted, right? So we're moving on.
Motion to comply with. All those in favor? All opposed?
No.
3
Show
no.
of hands.
Show of hands, that's complied with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Little conflict of interest there.
All right, so 19D
That's all taken care of.
was taken care of. No DGNR, no charter and rules.
Make a motion to take 23, 24 as a package.
23,
Second.
24 as a package.
Can we put it on this year's ballot?
So motion to take 23 and 24 as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 23, ordered by myself, and 24. This is for the November 7th election, and the polling places and the time, which is polls will open at 7 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. And this will be for ward and at large. 24 is the polling locations. Motion be receive, adopt, both of them. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 25 from Councilor McGee, Councilor Givner, or that the city council meeting for November 7th be rescheduled because it is an election. So
Receive and adopt.
motion be receive and adopt, and then there may be a special meeting being called because of the tax classification and the
Right.
supplemental. So we'll keep you posted on those dates.
Post November 7th, though, probably, right?
We're gonna see.
Okay.
Could be the 6th, it could be the 8th.
Well, she has to schedule her tax classification hearing anyways first.
Yeah, I mean, there was the special meeting for a lot of different things. So once things are updated, I will get it to you.
Okay.
So, Councilor McGarry.
I have no problem with that, Mr. President, and I think it makes sense because we're going to have some big discussion items coming up, you know, special meeting discussion items of supplemental budget, tax classification, and so forth. The problem is when we wait to have a meeting this long, our orders don't go on an agenda unless we get you or the mayor to put them on the agenda. So, I mean, this time I think it makes sense, but I think we got to reconsider how we do special meetings instead of regular meetings.
Yes, and friendly reminder, Mr. President, you have the power now to call special meetings, so we don't need to necessarily have the mayor's agenda. We don't need the mayor to call special meetings, so you should consider that when, to Councilor McGivern's excellent point, that, you know, there might be other agenda items to go on.
That's not forgotten. I'm just giving you the heads up now that there might have to be a special meeting to deal with everything because of the election.
Understood.
Okay. So 25, motion to receive and adopt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 26, order that the raised crosswalk be installed at Kane, Clinton, and Moore in a visible sign for safety purposes. I think we just took that up as a
If you
communication.
can get the raised crosswalk done there, bless your heart.
So how about we receive, adopt, and we'll follow up with DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
If you could make a motion to suspend the rules and take 27, 28, 29, 31, and 32 as a package, refer to Committee on Finance.
A second.
Second.
Motion is take up 27, 28, 29,
31 and 32.
31, and 32 as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 27, 256,000 from capital stabilization to capital outlay, HPD and equipment. 28, 300,000 from patrolman to overtime. 29, City Council appropriate $12,708,775 for the Lawrence School, McMahon, and so on and so forth. 31 is the Edward Bryan grant for $40,949, no match. 32 is the opioid substance abuse program, 1 million, no match. All to finance. All those
Can
in
I just
favor?
point out,
Aye.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilor.
I did, hopefully for when we have finance on 29, the state said we can use some of our ESSER funds to cover our 20%. Just want to make sure we get that all buttoned up, because that's going to be a nice $2 million savings for the city. That was a request that I had made, and to Superintendent Soto's credit, the state did approve that. Thank you.
All right, all to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 30.
Make a motion to receive, pass the first reading for
Motion to
adoption.
receive, adopt, pass the first reading. This is $24,703.83 from patrolman to injured on duty. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Do we have the number of?
Oh, hold on, I'll get you that.
Usually you give us the number.
About 8 or 9.
9.
9. Okay, thank you.
So motion.
Motion to pass the second reading?
Motion to pass the second reading. Clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for injured on duty.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Yes.
Jordan, Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti,
Yes.
Puello,
Yes.
I. Rivera,
Yes.
J. Rivera.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Your vote, you approve that one. 33 from Councilor Murphy Ramboletti, or that the City Council approve the resolution for Certified Housing Development Initiative Program.
GGR.
So DGNR, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 34 from Councilor Puello, that a crosswalk please be painted between Capri Pizza and Key Foods. Motion be receive, adopt, send to DPW.
Can I be added as a co-sponsor? Because I actually filed this order about 4 months ago.
Nice.
We're hoping to get this as soon as possible. Plus, we would like actually not only to have it painted, but to have something put up at the median in the middle.
Adding
And,
Councilor
so
Jordan.
we're hoping they do this as soon as possible.
All
There's
those
a lot
in
of
favor?
traffic back and forth there.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
34 5 from Councilor Puello, that Tapestry please consider providing at minimum quarterly needle collection data to the city council. Motion be receive. The public safety?
Yeah, public safety, please, thank you.
Can we have a copy to the Board of Health too? Because they're supposed to be monitoring this as well.
Can I be added on to that, please?
Adding Councilor Bacon. So motion is to public safety, copy to Board of Health. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 36 from Councilor Paul, the Police Department, please provide a list of events and dollar amounts that have received police detail paid overtime during the last 6 months. Finance?
Finance, please.
Can I,
So-
Mr. President?
Yep.
I guess with the maker, so I wanted to be signed on to that, and I know there's a other order that I filed last meeting that goes to DGR, really inviting the police, fire department, all different departments that have to do around permitting and licensing for special events. I'm wondering if we can actually take that conversation up there, maybe a copy to finance, because I think it is very good to have that transparency as to what the process is.
Okay, so adding Councilor Manuel Velez, sending to finance with a copy to all departments.
The DGR.
DGR.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 37 from Council Pro, that Lisa Ball review section 2-162 of the charter covering legal opinions and provide a written communication explaining when the department will allow to refuse a legal opinion. So receive, refer to legal.
Yeah, can I strike out communication, please, with legal opinion, and then refer this to public service?
So striking out, where again? Say it again. I missed it.
Communication, a written communication. So I'll strike out communication, replace with legal opinion, and send to public service.
Okay, so striking out to amend, adding legal opinion instead of communication. All those in favor?
Can I
All
make
opposed?
another amendment?
What was that? Yeah.
I wanted to make a friendly amendment to add, you might want to take a look at ordinance 2-156 as well.
So moved.
Is it a charter or?
Okay. And adding ordinance 2-156.
Mr. President, can we send a copy to charter and rules?
Okay, so on that amendment, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Now sending it to the law department, and you said a copy to charter and rules
Yes,
and to public service. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, 38 from Councilor Bacon, Councilor Jordan, or that the City of Holyoke, through the Honorable City Council and Honorable Mayor, hereby petition the Mass General Court to enact legislation. Where do you want this one to go?
Mr. President,
Yep.
so this language should be the exact language of the one that was debated in council a few months ago, that was then sent back to committee because council couldn't agree relative to the mayor appointing or the city council appointing. So the only difference in this language is that the city council would be the appointing authority. And we did spend quite a long time debating this in council, fairly recently. And the mayor has indicated that he is eager to move forward with the restructuring of the city. And I think it's almost 2 years ago now, we all agreed that part of that restructuring involves causing the treasurer to become an appointed position rather than elected. So the filing of this order is, rather than pulling an order out of the jacket, it's to file the order in hopes that council might take it up, that we've already debated and discussed it, and this was an attempt to allay the concerns that caused it not to pass last time, so that we could hopefully move the matter to the mayor. So I would respectfully request the council to take this up and approve it and send it to the mayor so that we can get going, hopefully, on the restructuring. Thank you.
Councilor Malaveles.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just say when the order that's currently in charter and rules was taken up in July, I believe it was, yes, we did disagree on who should do the appointing and whatnot. But I think something that was also said during that meeting is that, this should go hand in hand with some other structural changes that are happening, including the CAFO, which has been sitting in ordinance since April, I believe, or February. So I would like to send in charter and rules. I think if we were to put this in the ballot, I think we all are in agreement that the treasurer should be appointed. I think that the other discussion that needs to be done is around what the CAFO looks like, what the whole financial department would look like, which we still don't have or are not clear on. And also, regardless, since this has to do with our charter, my understanding that this wouldn't be even on the ballot until 2025. So I think we still have some time to figure out a lot of other aspects and a lot of other pieces of the pie before we just go ahead and put this in front of the voters. Thank you.
Councilor Bacon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just note that this order cannot be expanded to include CAFO as it sits, and so there would have to be a separate order relative to that. So the two are really separate, perhaps parallel tracks, but they don't need to be at all at the same time.
Councilor Velez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry I misspoke. Not saying that we should be adding CAFO to this. The person that just spoke said in the last meeting that there's other aspects of financial department, what that would look like, that we need to put in place before, they would feel comfortable having this on the ballot. So that's just sort of where I'm at. I think there's more discussions that need to take place before we put this in for, before we rush it through. I think there's still other discussions that should be taking place in order to, so that the people can be very clear as to, okay, this is going to be appointed. So then what happens with these other positions and whatnot? So I think it's just a longer conversation that still happen, whether it's with me or anyone else that gets elected. Because it is, there's a lot of pieces that had to do with this. And I did vote on it, yes, the back in July, and a lot of it had to do with because I was told and I was advised it needs to happen now because it needs to be it needs to go on the local election. Since then, there's watching the finance committee meeting and all these other conversations around the finance department. There's a lot of pieces that still need to be put in place before we say this is going to happen. And again, just reiterate, this ballot question will not come up until 2025 regardless. So I think we still have some time to figure out a lot of other pieces within the financial department so that we can give the voters a very informed ballot question in front of them. Thank you.
Councilor Jordan.
Councilor Maldonado Velez makes a lot of great points. I'm not adverse to sending it back into committee. The only concern is that basically at finance that we had is basically the council is being criticized because we're not moving on this, and we were told there's a strong sense of urgency to get this adopted. So if whoever is in charge down at the other end of City Hall is saying to us, I need this adopted, and the mayor is saying, let's move forward with this, really the only issue relative to this piece was the issue of appointing authority. And the current thing that I wanted to preserve is that the charter currently gives the city council the appointment authority. So if there's a vacancy in treasurer, currently under the charter, the council appoints. So I wanted to keep that. And that's basically my concern. If there isn't this sense of urgency, then okay, but that's not really what I heard at finance. I don't know, the chairman of our finance chair can weigh in, but what I heard was, let's act on this, let's go, I'm being held back. So if that's the case, then I'm prepared to approve this tonight. If that's not the case, and we need to study all these other components, and you make excellent points, because everything you said is 100% true, then let's go to committee and figure out the whole mosaic. But we got to come to, where are we going with all of this?
Motion to suspend rules, allow Councilmember Velez to speak for a third time.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? Councilor?
Thank you, Mr. Bartley. There is a sense of urgency. That's why this question was brought back in July. And now, since we missed the deadline that wasn't passed through, regardless, we still have to wait 2 years in order for it to be in front of the voters. So I think we as a council have an opportunity now in front of us, since it didn't pass the first time, to actually take a step back and actually look at the whole picture. the sense of urgency is still there. I'm a believer that should be appointed and CAFO, and I follow a lot of Mayor Garcia's advice and a lot of all of this. But we missed that sense of urgency back in July. Now we still have 2 years in front of us that we have to wait until it goes in front of the voters. That's my thing. So we have an opportunity to actually now look at the whole picture and do it, because even if we put in this petition, my understanding, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, the state is going to come back to us and say, okay, now the ballot question needs to be in front of the voters, and that ballot question is going to come up in 2025. So we still can't even do anything until 2025 election happens. So let's make sure that every other piece of the pie is figured out a little more. I don't think we're all going to agree on every aspect of it. That's why we're all here. We're all different. But this particular one, doesn't need to be rushed at this point. We brought it back in July because there was a sense of urgency. Unfortunately, it didn't go through. So I understand why we are wanting it to go through today when we still have 2 years now ahead of us in order for it to come in front of the voters. Thank you.
Councilor Jordan.
Mayor Garcia, if you're listening, I tried. Okay, that's all I can say. But if we're going to send it to finance, that's fine. Okay. Or excuse me, charter and rules. Excuse me.
2 charter and rules to debate it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. 39. Let me get everything in order here. Councilor Anderson Burgos, order that raised crosswalk be installed at Nantucket and Beacon. So motion to receive, refer to DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 41 from Councilor Bartley, order in light of enhanced work by HPD to take back our streets, please enforce citywide stop sign ordinances. Please regularly send a police to monitor compliance at Brown Ave. Refer to HPD and public safety for follow-up.
Yep, that's the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 42 from Councilor Bartley, DPW Law Department work with the ordinance committee to invoke some flexibility in a new trash bin program. For example, allow single families to apply for more than one. So refer to ordinance.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 43 from Councilor Jordan, Councilor Bacon, or that the personnel director advise the treasurer position and develop a recruiting campaign in concert with the mayor and current treasurer.
Receive and adopt.
Receive, adopt.
Refer to the mayor and the personnel director. I also like them to fill the vacancies if there's, I'm hearing now that there may only be just one vacancy now. We budgeted the funds, and let's get some temporary financial services until we can get that other position filled too, because the office needs the 5 positions occupied, and we also need a long-term treasurer. So we're not going to get a person if we're not even recruiting. So we need to get going here.
Councilor Maldonado-Velez.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're not saying yes or no. I will say no for this order in particular, just because the treasurer position is still an elected position in our charter. I can't think of anywhere else where you advertise an elected position. Right now, there's certain things that need to change. I know, for example, one of the treasurers was possibly going to be appointed wasn't a resident for 2 years. So maybe we should talk about resident requirement. We should talk about, again, to the last point around switching it from elected to appointed. There's a lot of things that need to happen. I just don't feel right, I know, for any of us saying hey, your position is going to be, now it's going to be recruited for and whatnot, regardless of the person says they agreed with it or not. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I would say no to this because it just legally doesn't make sense to me. So,
Councilor Jordan.
Yeah. So this was the deal. Okay. Again, we keep coming back to people make statements, people make representations. This was the plan. I listened very carefully to the plan. The plan is Mr. Casey is stepping up to the plate to fill in this role, and then when the person gets it, I'm prepared to step aside and to resign from the position, and then we can appoint into the position. And I hope there's some other role for Mr. Casey. He's a very thoughtful, conscientious man. But nevertheless, his goal was not to be, and I don't believe it was our goal, to have him with his qualification set to be the long-term treasurer. in that position. And this position immediately becomes appointed as soon as he resigns. That's how he was appointed, right? He's not sitting in there today by virtue of an election. He was appointed by us, okay? And so that was the deal. I listened very carefully at the hearing. So the question is, we need the replacement. We have no one to appoint if we don't advertise. And that is not going to be an easy process, okay? But how can you ever get a candidate if you're not even recruiting? So let's start recruiting and get this position filled with the long-term solution, and maybe they come up with something else like, you know, he's the new assistant, or who knows what they want to do. I'll defer to them. But this office needs a person in charge who has finance background, has a superior education, has all of the qualifications to be in this role. This position and this department is too important to be losing the type of money it's losing and not getting the top type of person. Now, this also may involve, you know, the appointed person. We may have to review the ordinance. I think it's paying around $85,000 today. Maybe it's going to cost us more money to get the top person. I don't know, but we'll have to discuss all of that. The point is, how do you get the candidate if you're not even trying? And the way it certainly feels to me, correct me if I'm wrong, room, it certainly feels to me like Mr. Casey's going to sit in this position for the next 2 years, and at some point date in the future down the road, we're going to appoint somebody. We can't wait 2 more years for the leader of this department. We need to start recruiting for that position now, not 2 years from now. And that's my opinion. I think anybody would look at the skill set and resumes that are going into this role and how that department is functioning, not just to now, but over a period of time previously, that has led us, one, to the belief that the position should be no longer elected. I think we're all relatively unanimous in that opinion. Number 2, that we need a highly skilled leader in that role, okay? And who's had serious finance background, treasury, a comptroller, whatever the case may be, there are professionals that are out there. Maybe the answer is we need to just hire someone who's an interim that has that skill set, period. There's people that, you know, I'm in healthcare and hospital finance. If somebody is the CFO resigns or takes another position, they might bring in an interim who might be there for a year or 2 until they get the person and they have a search committee. That might be the situation, but we need, this is not a position for, this department is a mess. And this is not a position for on-the-job training, okay? We need a serious finance professional in there. That is part of it. I'm just going to put it right out there. That's the way it is. We all, at least I know it to be true. And I think we need to have exactly what is called for in this order, which is a serious finance leader in this position. And then if there's other details about residency, pay, benefits, interim, contract. I mean, we're just brought in a engineering firm to be now the city engineer on an interim basis for $30,000. Okay, great. You know, that's the type of skill set we need to be bringing to this position. And this absolutely should be adopted. To me, this is a no-brainer, quite frankly.
Councilor Rivera.
So I agree that this position is too important to the city for it to be an elected position. It's just crazy that now it's the crazy hard push for it, right? I don't know how many people before actually had CPAs that were treasurers in the past. So I think the elected position is the nature of the beast, right? You kind of get the people that step up to the plate and that want to serve for the community. And it's unfortunate for some, it is learning on the job. I wouldn't say that it would only be for one particular individual, right? I would say that I think a lot of people that are stepping into elected roles are learning on the job, because there is not necessarily a course that's teaching you how to fulfill your role as an elected official, right? There's a difference between a public administration degree and being an elected official, or a CPA, right, and being an elected official. There's differences. The piece where I'm at here is that it's hard for me to fathom how we can literally shop a position that is not open yet, right? That is difficult for me to understand. That it's good to be on the lookout and to have an understanding of who's out there, but you can't necessarily, I don't even know how legal it is, right? So like, how can we have conversations about removing someone from a position that they might still want to be in? I hear the point of where the deal was. At the end of the day, there was no deal. We had 3 candidates. One of them actually qualified. That's it. So it's not that it's a deal. It's we had to pick somebody at the end of the day, right? And then the other piece to me is that if the sitting treasurer right now is acting, right? But after November 7th, it will no longer be acting. It would actually be a treasurer, right? And if he pulled papers, the intention to me is that he's still interested in being in the position, right? If he had no interest in the position, he would not have pulled papers, right? And it would have at least kicked in the mechanism of us looking for someone to appoint for this position. But that's not the case right now. That's not what's in front of us. So I'm interested to hear from the law department. That's cool. We can bring it to committee and then hear from the law department how legal it actually is to try to kind of force someone to resign, in a sense, right, as a city, so that way we can find someone that's more qualified and has more acumen than they do. So I'm interested in trying to figure out how this is going to work out. Thank you.
Councilor Vacan was next.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we've put ourselves in a catch-22 because we did not act on petitioning the state to change it to an appointed position. However, the current appointed treasurer did agree and has stated and restated in many public meetings that when the head person is found, he's going to be happy to do some other job. The perception that I got from him was he was still here, nothing was done, so he's staying in the place to keep things going. He didn't even file the papers till the last possible minute, because then it turned into you've got to do it to fill the term for the 2 years now that we didn't do the other things. So we have created this catch-22 for ourselves by failing to act. But having said that, I take him at his word, because the consultant has been the one effectively acting as our treasurer for the past year. So in order to change anything, we have to do something. And we're just talking in circles. We can't do the treasurer recruiting because we haven't changed it to elected and appointed. And we can't do elected and appointment because we couldn't agree on who should get to appoint. And so now we're just continuing in this circular loop. Because if you don't do one thing, you can't do the other. Well, we're never going to do anything at the rate we're going, because now everybody's already talking 2 years from now. And we already spent 2 years. So I'm in the club of, and it's interesting because sometimes I hear other people saying we have to get something done. Well, I guess on this, I'm in that club. And I actually think the people that are in that department would be happy, because they were happy when the consultant was there. And I think we can hire a qualified person for something south of $300,000. Thank you.
Councilor Maldonado Velez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I won't repeat much of what I said earlier. I'm still on the same boat with it. I think, the previous speaker was correct. We put ourselves in this position because some of us did not agree to putting this treasurer position to be appointed on this year's ballot. If that question was in front of the voters this year, even with an amendment, which wasn't said or done or anything during the vote, then we wouldn't be in a situation. The fact remains, though, it is an elected position that is elected by the people. Whether it's one person, 2 people, 0 people that run, this is an elected position. And before we can go ahead and advertise for a position as though it's just like some sort of just regular other job that's not elected position, we need to take care of that part first. That's what I'm trying to say. If Rory's not, if treasurer doesn't want to be there, then he also has the right to like step down and that's it. And then it'll open up and then we're going to go ahead and appoint the next treasurer. That's the reality of it. But he's still there doing the work, waiting for these other aspects to be taken care of that we failed to put in front of the voters for this year's election. So I just fall back on that. This is still an elected position until it gets switched. And it's not that I'm against appointing someone. The regardless is we shouldn't be appointing anyone because there is someone still being active treasurer that is also running for re-election. There are also plenty of people that could have pulled papers to run against Rory. I don't know who is the other person that's qualified to run against Rory or to be treasurer. That person didn't pull papers. That person didn't get the 50 signatures. Until none of those requirements are in place for the position of treasurer, then this is what we have in front of us. You know, we'd like to follow the rules and everything else, but for this, for some reason, it's a little different. With that said, there is also other orders like CAFO, for example, the Chief Administrative Financial Officer, that is sitting in ordinance. It has been sitting there for a couple months that hasn't been brought up in ordinance. From the last finance meeting that I don't know if we were watching the same one. I know I couldn't attend, but the one that I was watching said Mayor Garcia said that there's municipalities that do it differently, where they set up the CAFO and then take care of the treasurer thing afterwards. So to act like we can't do anything about our financial situation currently, that's a straight up lie. I think there's plenty that we can actually do. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Hold on. Councilor McGivern's next.
Thank you, Mr. President. I mean, I love this type of discussion because how can something be so right and so wrong at the same time? I mean, you can, no matter what you do, both arguments are correct. But my position remains the same, and I think we're missing a point. I'm not disagreeing with the urgency. I'm not fully understand the need to do something in the Treasurer's Department. But Councilor Maldonado Velez just made a lot of sense. It's not, to me, it's not the treasurer that we have to correct. It's who's going to be in charge, the CAFO. I don't think we should have an elected treasurer, but right now, not in 3 weeks, not until January 2nd, we're going to have an elected treasurer, and we're advertising to replace an elected treasurer with no guarantee if you take this job in 2 years, you don't have to run for election. So I think we're wasting money on advertising because when it was a vacancy and temporary with almost the same terms, we only had 4 people that applied? The most qualified person was from Pennsylvania. I'm sorry, but I don't think a person that's living in Pennsylvania should be making decisions on our treasury. Probably could have fixed a lot of things, but at the same time, it just scared me. So we need to figure out who's going to run all the financial departments. And if we do create the CAFO, which I think we're leaning towards it, it's time not just to take the treasurer off the elected roles, it's time to consolidate some of those positions into one. Most of these treasurers, things that happen across the Commonwealth, they're combined with another position, and there's only one department head and one deputy department head. And we can do that. We're in a position where we can do that easily. And then you fill in the blanks. But there's got to be somebody in charge. The checks and balance, the language I saw that went to committee tonight is part of resolving the checks and balance issue, and I agree with that language. But if the mayor is not going to be the chief financial officer, it's time to make and create the CAFO. It's time to do it. And let's find someone that's qualified. We just fired a person who's qualified by not voting for the $250,000. I'm not disagreeing with the reasons we voted against it, because I was one of the ones that voted against it. But that person was qualified with the staff. It wasn't one person that came in. I asked for things to be done. One thing has been done finally, because 12 years ago, this city council directed and agreed with the mayor and agreed with people that a paralegal from the law department would be on special assignment to make sure every department head was mandated to get into Munis. Election came along, a new mayor took office, and that individual was fired without any consultation to the city council. And that there's been nothing done about Munis since then.
10 years.
It is now being done, thanks to Mayor Garcia and thanks to other people in the city, that every department head, every department will be on Munis, not just payroll, but other softwares coming that will help resolve some of those reconciliation, some of these accounting issues in the Treasury itself. But that's my thoughts, is, I mean, we can advertise, but I think we're spinning our wheels in the wrong direction. Let's get the position created. Let's start finalizing everything that we've talked about, get it done, then start advertising.
Councilor Murphy Ramboletti.
Thank you. Why are we talking about this so much? Are we sending this to committee? Are we voting on this tonight? Like, I just don't understand why we're still talking about this. I thought that we don't really debate orders. I'm sorry, I've been away for like 3 days for a work retreat. I'm so exhausted, and I don't understand why we're talking about this. This is what subcommittees are for, no?
To adopt it tonight.
Oh, all right, well then.
Yeah.
Then let's vote.
What is the motion?
So the motion at
Motion was
first
to
was
adopt.
receive and adopt. And Councilor Jordan.
Yeah. So, first of all, I just want to make sure we're not conflating a number of issues. One, the restructuring of how this all shakes out and what we do and maybe combine this with that and that with this, all of that is an interesting discussion, has nothing to do with who day to day is running the Treasury. The question is, while all of this is going on an interim basis, should Rory continue to be the person in charge, or should we follow what he said, which is when you get the candidate, I will step down and you bring in this person. I'm intrigued by the fact that we'll have a $300,000 a year consultant come in for 4 days a week, and nobody bats an eye at that. But yet to actually have the qualified person to actually run the department, that is like a shudder to think. I marvel that those two concepts don't jive, first of all, because you could get a qualified candidate running this department for less than $300,000 a year. I assure you that. Because whoever's going to be in this position, I doubt they're going to get a salary of $300,000 a year. Second point. So this is to say, fill the job, okay? And do that now. We can have all these other interesting discussions about long-term solutions. And here's the other, to say, well, Rory's in the position now, so we can't post the job as long as Rory's in the position. That doesn't even make sense, okay? Because Rory said, if you get the candidate, I will step down and you put that person in. You can't use the argument that says, well, he's in the position, so don't find the other person. This was the deal, so follow the deal. That to me makes all the sense in the world. It's like a person, if you're in the private sector and you're running a finance office and the person says, I really want to retire. I want to retire. I want to retire at the end of the year, or I have other plans I'm going to take, but I'll stay in this for now until you find somebody else, but this is my intent. And it's great that Rory stepped up and he continues and he's our guy until we get the other person, okay? But that's what we need to do, is we need to get the qualified candidate in here. And this position becomes appointed the moment he steps down, whether that's November 7th, if it's January 2nd, if it's January 15th, if it's June 15th of next year. Who knows? It may take us 6 months to find the person. But we've already been waiting all this time, but we're not even looking. Rory goes into the job, makes this commitment, which was a noble commitment, but there's no search process even going on. The last year has been completely wasted. And you know what it turns out what the master plan was? Oh, we're going to bring in a consultant for 3 years for $1 million. That's a crazy plan. I didn't sign up for that plan. And if that's the plan, I'm glad that's off the train. That train's off the tracks. because that is ridiculous plan, okay? We need to have a qualified leader in this. We need to recruit a person, and we need to fill all the jobs in the office that are budgeted. That's what we need to do. That's the obvious answer. All these other restructuring and this and that, and whoever this interim person is, they would be there for up to 2 years while we do all this, and they would know that going into it. And if there's not a position for that person, then so be it. The interim person will be out of the picture. Maybe the interim person is the ultimate person picked. Who knows, right? That's a decision for another day. But in the interim, we're actually recruiting a qualified candidate to run the place day to day, who has the type of experience and skill set that we appear to be looking for in the consultant for $300,000 a year. And I suggest to you, you can get someone for a heck of a lot less, for less than 300, because right now we're paying 300 plus we're giving Rory 85. So we're paying 385. That's a great deal for somebody to have Rory and somebody 4 days a week. 385,000. I think we can do better than that. Thank you.
Counselor Givner. All right, Counselor Rivera.
So just to go back to the smoke and mirrors, we do this constantly, right? When we're paying $300,000, we're not paying for one staff member. We're paying for a team of CPA trained people to do this work. Okay, they're not CPAs, and people are not lawyers too. They don't have actual real law degrees, please.
Smoke and mirrors.
We're here, smoke and mirrors all day. This is what it is. So,
Counselor,
where we get to this point is, right, we are going to try to recruit, if we pass this, we're going to try to recruit someone for a position, right? And we just had a team of people walk away from us because of what we did, right? Understand that. And those people, just like I do in my realm as working as a regional director for a parenting program, I work with a lot of other directors that work in the same realm that I work in, right? Do you not think that those people that walked away from this situation are going to have conversations with other people that are interested in applying for this job when we go to recruit? Is that not a factual thing? Do you not think that people are not watching on a regular basis how we are treating people and how we are working with consultants, working with people within our own departments? So to come and apply for a job in Holyoke, it's not going to be 100 and 120. They're going to want like 200, easy, because they know it's not an easy situation. Not only putting back together the pieces, remind you, we're back at square one now because our consultants walked away. So whatever it was that we were trying to accomplish, sorry, we're going back. It looks like we're going to probably go back to what it was before. Just understand that, right? But for me, it's like, it's crazy that we continue to go on a path that for some makes sense, I guess, right? But there is a system in place, right? And the system says we have to follow certain rules and regulations. I'm not the one that makes rules and regulations. If it was up to me, we follow them as we go, but it's not up to me. It's up to everyone else that creates them, makers of law, makers of history, right? So coming back to the point, I do not remember anyone saying that they would resign when we found the guy. That's not what I heard. What I heard was when the system changes, they would step down. When someone came in and the position was no longer an elected official position, when it was a position that was for someone to be hired, they would step down. That's what I heard. But at the end of the day, someone can say whatever they want to say. At the end, where is the paperwork? Where is the ink? Where is the contract? Is there a contract stating that this is what's going to happen? If not, there's nothing to legally protect us when we do force him to resign because we found someone else. That's just the point I want to make. It's crazy that things are getting so convoluted over things that could be so simple in other places, but I guess here it's not as simple. Thank you.
Okay, on the motion. Let's see where this
On the motion.
So on the motion to receive and adopt.
I actually want to offer an amendment because there is part of this order that is true. The personnel director should advertise the vacant positions in the office so the treasurer's office is fully staffed. What I'm not for is the elected position, because the elected position is not currently vacant. But I do agree, we need to have a fully staffed treasurer's office.
Right, so
I'll agree with that.
So your motion is to strike out treasurer's position?
All the way until temporary financial services employees. So then
So
it goes
striking from the treasurer's position and development recruiting campaign all the way down to
right before
Bill?
the vacant positions in the office.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
So a motion would be striking that language, which then would read that the personnel director would post to fill the temporary financial services employees' vacant positions, so on and so forth. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Show of hands. If you're in favor of the amendment. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It does not pass.
Okay.
On the original.
So just on the original motion, and
On
then
the original motion?
we don't have the votes, it'll be nothing. That's fine.
So, on the original motion, to receive adopt, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
No. Show of hands. Ayes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that one doesn't carry.
All right,
Next.
so it's defeated. Next item.
All right.
We move on. I tried. That's all I'm asked to do here.
So, late files, few left. Late file A from the city solicitor, the sale of 267 Elm Street. So it's a notification on it, it's a DGNR.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
B is from Councilor Murphy Marmoletti, or that the city council approve the license agreement between the city
DGR.
and Canal Road to DGNR. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. D is a communication from Mary Moynihan, which is the Board of Public Works, with regards to the sewer. Motion be received.
Ordinance.
Ordinance.
All those in favor?
Mr. President, just back to A, motion to reconsider that. That we just need to receive. Okay. We don't just, because we already voted for that.
All right, so motion to reconsider A is just to receive it.
Yes, sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Last is G from myself, or that the DPW Commission return to reviewing and setting the sewer rate. That would go to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's all I have. Motion is to adjourn. Don't debate it. All
Aye.
those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? We stand adjourned.